Right, good evening. It's 6:04 p.m. on October, not October.
Yes.
Oh, it says Tuesday on here. So on October 15th, calling to order the October meeting of the Hood Valley Parks and Rec District. We will go ahead and start with comments from the general public, if anyone would like to speak. Thank you. We have a few folks here. Jane Nichols.
I'm good.
Okay. Kate McBride. Yeah. Rachel. Say hi. No. Okay.
We do have one person online, Chelsea Clark. If you would like to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand and I will promote you to be able to speak. So if you can let me know by hitting the hand button on your Zoom. And I do not see a hand, so we will go ahead and move forward.
Okay, great. All right, so next item, reviewing the minutes. Does anyone have anything needs to be changed at all or? Okay, we can entertain a motion to approve them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as stated. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Okay, foundation update. I guess that's me. Not especially different from last update because that was only a few weeks ago. But the foundation has gotten almost done finishing, confirming what the donors at the 1,000 and up level would like to have done with their donation. We are just waiting on two forms to get filled out. And then that total will be completely updated online. The total that is up online is pretty accurate. So it's pretty close to right. The foundation decided to work on kind of wrapping up this kind of phase one of the Indian Creek Trail fundraiser. And then to move on to other efforts for a little while. Felt like things were at a good place to kind of tie a bow on that, take a pause, and then see what happens, with the next steps with the property. I think that's one of the essential items. I guess you weren't there actually. We don't usually call on the audience, but Rachel, do you have anything to add since you're on the foundation? Did I miss anything key?
Not related to this rail.
Any other key update items you feel?
No, just that we're going to be focusing on more of the full.
Yeah, so we started the discussion about how to support the pool. And so if that may come up again in our discussion later with that agenda item.
New foundation member.
Yeah, but I don't know if she's confirmed,
Okay.
accepting, yeah.
Back.
Yeah. Yeah, any questions?
Going along.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Right.
okay. Great. So, we are, going to go over a couple things tonight here. Strategic planning is the main part of our agenda. In fact, we decided to get rid of kind of our regular reports from another person, from the one of our supervisors and director's report and such, just because we met 2 weeks ago and we want to focus specifically on just this as we're getting into kind of the real decision-making time with some of these things. And so right now, we are going to talk a little bit about operation funding options. And so again, this is a huge subject, so we've broken it up into a lot of different parts here, where we first talked about it in July about that we're going to be having some needs and everything coming forward. The board asked me to put together some information on what those needs were at the last board meeting. I provided you with kind of a history of the Parks and Recreation District and how we started and how we got to where we're at. And then just a little bit with some benchmarking and other agencies and where they're at in comparison with us, with the rest of the state and some things. And then this is where I will get into a little bit more of the details of what this would cost and that sort of thing. We also talked about funding options for the last time as well. And so we are getting to that next part right now where we're starting to get closer into the details of what those needs are and starting to hone down those sorts of things. So we'll get into that a little bit. And then we're gonna review the public feedback and the advisory council feedback on the pool concepts. And then we're gonna look at the Integris feedback or review feedback to give Integris. And items for consideration on, you know, phased or the funding or, you know, that sort of thing. Integris originally wanted to have this information back right after the first public meeting. We pushed them back a full month, and then we've actually pushed them back another couple of weeks, and they have not changed any of the dates. Well, we changed the dates initially of the first public meeting, or I'm sorry, the third public meeting to be in December now. But when we pushed them back 2 weeks, they decided to keep it at that December date because we didn't want to have to push things even further. So they're going to be working extra fast and hard for us to get this next phase done. And so I think that the point is we want to get them very good information tonight that will help them and not continue to change things on them. And we also I'll be staying late tonight, finishing up this stuff just to email them all of this information tonight. So it's just gonna be putting pool covers on tomorrow and all this stuff. And I just want to be so that they show up tomorrow and their inbox already has this stuff in it. So we're committed to try and get them some good information for the facility. So that's the main thing that we will be focusing on after we want to talk about the operation stuff first, so that we kind of have an idea of that stuff, but then get into the the capital stuff, because that's the important part for the architects to be able to get information back to us so that we can have it for that December meeting and be able to move forward.
Mark, just a quick question, the 29th, well, that was October, that was the initial plan, and now it's moved to the December
10th.
December 10th, right? No, good.
Down in town.
Gotta,
We'll send a calendar invite for that
Mhm.
I
to
just have it on my calendar, at least you said December when?
December 10th. That's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
and cancel.
I'm out of town, that was.
We haven't put that out with the public yet. But it is something that we've confirmed with all the consultants and everyone, so that's but we're just, it's such an awkward time as we're getting like kind of the holiday
Holiday
season
season.
and everything. So when we were pushing it 2 weeks further, that was putting it around Christmas, and we're just like, oh, it was either that or we're gonna have to wait till like early January and school goes back and everything before we do something, and so we just decided to go ahead and kind of compress this. So some of the things that we want to get for them is answers on, is it a roof or a tent, pool location, 1-story, 2-story, pool layouts, items for consideration like the phased and fundraising possibilities, and then amenities, kind of like the high level amenities. And then price range, that's why they really would like to have like a not to exceed number that will really help them with their design. Because if they spend all of this time putting all this stuff together and they come back and they're like, oh, it's gonna be yay amount, we're like, oh, that's way too much, then we've wasted a lot of time. So if we could get like a dollar amount for them to try and work around, and that way they can come back and say like, okay, well, with what you want, here's the options we have. And then there's some other considerations, but that's kind of what we'll be going over in a little bit there. And then just another note there on the operation. The operation is kind of like a high level. It's not the final decision. It's letting me know, am I on track? Am I still on track? Should I hone some stuff? Should I get some more information for you? And then I can come back with even more details and such as we get into that, but we don't have to decide on exactly how we're going to fund it or any of that tonight. We went over some of those options before, but I will give you some options, specifically on just like the levy and what the cost would be if we were to do an operation levy. So we'll get into it. First, I just want to start off with just a little bit of history and show you. I know this is really hard to see on a big screen like this. Let me make this. Oops, I'm sorry.
It's not too bad.
Okay. So this is a history of funding measures in Hood River County for as far back as I could go with the records, which was around 2000 or so, 1998, and then I threw in a 1945 bond that I don't really have much information on. I just had like how much it passed by, and the original pool construction, $60,000 in 1947, to build the outdoor pool here.
Wow.
Yeah. So we actually did pass something in 1998. We passed a 9 cent per thousand bond. It was a 20-year bond with the school district, and that was it created improvements to school districts sports fields. I think just about every school in the district had some sort of project where we enhanced the sports fields and such. And then we took that and refinanced our debt on that. So when the Parks District was originally formed in 1990, we did not have like a bond or anything like that. So all of the capital work on this building and all of the stuff where we rebuilt pretty much the whole pool and we put a new tent on and all of that stuff was just loans that we were paying back with our general fund. And then we were operating this pool with volunteers, like they have volunteer managers and such, and on a very, very shoestring budget. And we had taken out, like I say, just loans. And they needed to start using their operation fund for other things, and so for operating. And so about half of that bond or so was refinancing that debt of those loans to be able to be paid for with a bond instead, and then they were able to start using that operation dollars, and that's why they hired their first director and their first staff pool, like official pool staff and everything in I think 1999, right after that passed. And then there's a bunch of other things here that you can see that there were some school district levies that a levy that did fail barely in 2004. College fail. The library district, you'll see that failed at 70 cents per thousand and came back and formed at 39 cents per thousand after it had been closed. And I've always heard it was closed for a year, but it looks like the measures were actually pretty close, May of 2010 and then November of 2010. And then yes, ours down there at the bottom in May of 2024. The last time it went out, but it also shows a little bit more information on like when some of these went, like what the turnout was. And you can see definitely on the presidential elections, you see much higher turnout. But the primaries are a pretty good turnout as well.
Something I noticed looking at this earlier was with the library one, how they went from 70 to 39, which is a really big drop.
Yeah.
And only picked up 6 additional percentage points.
But the messaging might be
So-
impactful there to know what they were
Yeah,
talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Well, I think politically, I was, many of us were living here, I think, quite a few in this room when it happened, or not really?
I was.
Well,
not,
yeah, it was pretty substantial when it actually shut down. I think that kind of woke a lot of people up in the same way that, the pool was having to shut down. I mean, that would be probably the same deal. It's like, I think people are like, oh, wait, we did want that.
but what were the metrics for it? How did they convey the difference in price that we asked for this in May and now we're gonna ask for this in November?
I don't know about the difference in price. I just remember once they got voted down and there were signs around the library saying, it's closed. I mean, I think that made people, I mean, even I think following what Christy said, probably didn't need to drop down that much to still pass. I think, I mean, I think people were just they probably just did that as a knee-jerk reaction, just because of it not passing at the 70 cent rate, but
Yeah,
I think it probably would have still passed. I mean, it probably would have been a
Yeah.
similar vote
Yeah.
with, if it was at 50 cents.
that's,
Yeah.
that's my thought is, you know, we keep haggling over, oh my gosh, how do we be good stewards of, like, what is this gonna do for us? And they just barely asked for more than half or less than half of what they wanted before. And only got 6% higher.
Yeah.
Like, how did they balance that out?
Mhm.
Just we'll take less? I don't feel like we're trying to talk about that. Okay, how do we ask for this? And then later we just say, okay, give us less. So I don't know.
I've done this for the last eight measures, but this shows you a little bit more information, just drilled down by precinct, just in case you were curious about any of this. And so I used one of ours. This was our operation levy. It actually passed in the city, in the two city precincts. The bonds did not pass in any precinct. But this one, just an interesting look to see how it passes in different areas. When you look at the breakout between city and county, 37% are actual city residents, 63% of the rest of the county. But when you include the west side district, west side precincts, since that's like precinct number 3. Well, no, 3 is actually no, 3 should be in the city.
Yeah, I think it's just that when you average it out.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
City.
So, yeah, when you average it out, yeah, it just was these two precincts, yeah, but when you include, sorry, I was looking at, numbers, 4 and 5, in the west side. It's split the population about, or the voter population to about 50-50. So 50% of our voters are in this area here. So, just other curious thing to look at. Here's another historical thing. I just wanted to put it out there just to show, like, just to refresh everyone's memories on what we asked for last time. And so last time, oops, the ask was for $1.27 per thousand for the bond and 40 cents per thousand for the operations levy. So strategic planning and operational funding needs. We got a report here. Again, these numbers are small. I don't expect you to get into to be able to read all of this right here. But I'm just showing you kind of how I built some of this. So Councilman Hunsaker, which is the sub-consultant on our plan, took the different concepts 1, 2, and 3, and then pulled out an operating budget for each of these based on the type of facility and how they could run it. A couple things that they did was they increased our hours to 8 to 8, assuming that we're going to have more. I don't know how we'll hire all those lifeguards, but that's baked into these assumptions is a full.
Pre-COVID, we were operating AD.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, it has been done and it was done like that for a while.
Yeah.
Whether or not we can get back there
Yeah.
with staffing.
Yeah.
Read out the option 1, option 2, option 3. Total.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get, and there's another slide that's bigger, because I'm telling, I have modified this with adding some other assumptions, so I'll show you in a second. Right now, I'm just showing you like what they gave me to work with, and then I'm gonna show you where we went with it. So originally, they also added some extra staffing, like a front desk attendant. Right now, we don't have a front desk person, and so lifeguards take turns going back and forth, and so this does add that position. And the lifeguard hours were added. There was a couple things that we need to go back and check with them to see, like their head guard. They only had 2 to 4 hours a day for a head guard, and that probably okay with that if we've got a manager on duty and such to take some of the extra hours and such. But I just want to see where all of those assumptions from and some other things. But
So those number of staff are all in addition to what is currently operating the pool.
In addition.
No, that's just their assumptions on
The breakdown.
on the breakdown. I'll show you the additional in just a little bit here. again, this was the revenue, considerations, and we talked a little bit, at our last meeting about what we can do with admission fees and everything. Their assumption was only to raise it 25 cents for general admission. And, you know, a couple of some things, so very modest, raises in this. Of course, we can decide that we want to raise that some, but as you saw in that before, raising the admission prices does not solve our operation problem, or does not raise as much revenue as you think there. And if you raise those too much, you'll probably have attendance going down. So, but that was just so you know, that's about how much they were raising. They did a couple of extra programs and some other things too, to put in a little bit more on the revenue. I didn't really touch the revenue on that side. I just kind of touched the expense side, and I'll show you how in a second here. This is this is kind of the condensed version of the budget, just to show you, as I broke it down. A couple things I did was I did propose a full-time maintenance position. They had proposed just a half-time maintenance person, which is what we currently have. Our aquatic supervisor spends a very large amount of her time doing maintenance work, because we don't have enough. Our parks maintenance person is trying to be out in the parks doing his stuff too, although he spends a lot of time here too. I know that it will be a newer facility, and we're hoping that it, you know, won't have as many emergencies, but pools always take regular maintenance all day long. So there's lots of different maintenance things, and so we would like to see if we could get a dedicated person for the pool. And so that did raise personnel there. We also in Councilman Hunsecker's original thing, they did not have any extra full-time staff, or when I say full-time, 40-hour week with benefit staff. On the operations side, we added 2 lifeguard positions, and the reason for that is daytime staff, which is our hardest area, you know, and the largest turnover. And every time we have someone leave, I mean, that's why each time within the last 3 or 4 years where you've seen us closing 1 day a week, which has pretty much happened every year. And this year, when we have had to close, you know, a couple times just in the last couple of weeks, it's because of daytime staff.
Or the
Lack of daytime staff, yes.
So Mark, looking at that, then it's basically 17K from option 1 to option 3, is that's the delta?
Yeah.
7. Where are you?
The total,
Addition to 5.
588 to
additional.
605.
Subsidy needed? Is that what-
I'm looking at the bottom
Additional
number.
funding is what he's referring to, is comparing option 1 and option 3 on that orange line.
Option, okay. So there.
but
There,
between
there.
1 and 2 right here,
No, he's
One
comparing
and
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
That's where he got
588.
17 from, but
Yeah. Is that, and that's my question.
Yeah, yeah, yes, this is, I'd have to go back and, so there was more revenue coming in, that's where this, so the jump from option 1 to option 2, because of the extra warm water and such, did add, more revenue, and so that's why it offset this, the expenses, total expenses. I would have to check his stuff to see exactly why this, because his expenses went down about $10,000 there between option 1 and 2, but I do know that the revenue, he had a big jump in the revenue. Oh, not big, but a good enough jump in the revenue right there.
Well, the utilities went down a little bit
Yeah,
option
page
2.
Yeah.
chunk on that one.
I think that was the main, the thing with, between attendance and this.
So the numbers on the far left are the current numbers.
That's our current budget, yeah, so what I wanted to show there was what we are currently running, the facility for, and so each of these ones, these additional is how much more the difference between, this and this, and the total expenses.
But isn't it actually skewed upwards because we're not currently open from 8 to 8? And so if you applied those hours to the first column, wouldn't the total subsidy needed be higher? So there'd be less of a delta between our current and like the new proposal. Do you see what I'm saying?
Your
Uh,
baseline budget wouldn't be 8 to 8, your
Right.
baseline budget is what you already know would be with less hours, but we're comparing it to 8 to 8 hours, is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
yeah, it's like you're adding pool, but you're also adding hours. And so I wouldn't want someone I would wanna make sure the public knows if that is the case, that those additional dollars adds two things. It's
Yeah.
additional operational hours and additional facilities, not just additional facilities.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
It's-
in the summer, it is important to recognize that we are open from 8 to 7. Most days except for Saturdays and Sundays. And so we do have it, like, I mean, so we haven't.
Also, like with masters, although we don't consider it an open hour because the facility is closed, we are running the pool in the mornings. Yeah, I mean, there are lifeguards here at what time, 6:30?
6 o'clock.
6 AM, so it's from 6 to 7:30 or so, the pool is being operated.
Okay, it's just, we're not quite comparing apples to apples here in terms of like service hours,
Sure,
right?
sure, but I am comparing what our baseline operational budget is, and then how much more I would need in order to operate the facility at a higher, and that's what I'm trying to get to, is like this dollar amount of what it would take, what extra to operate, so.
And if we were to operate 8 to 8, like that's,
So, yeah, we could,
The recommendation
Yeah.
from the consultants is to operate it from 8 to 8 because we increase our revenue and therefore
Yeah.
decrease
I,
the subsidy.
yeah, I could,
decreases
Well,
the
it doesn't
subsidy. I mean, I
decrease
would
the
wanna know if it
subsidy, yeah.
decreases the subsidy.
I mean, the subsidy in most of these goes up, over, because just because the expenses are higher.
Right, but you are increasing your revenue.
Yeah.
So like I mean, so yes, and I mean, you have the operational hours of paying your staff, but you also have to capture revenue through.
But if we're increasing costs more than we're increasing revenue, then
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
on balance, increasing costs. And so that's what it doesn't sound like we know for those.
And I
hours.
guess we just don't know too, like whether or not we're increasing revenue by saying open longer, right? I mean, so like. There's the assumption that with a new pool,
Well, revenue, but also the expenses of having us open is just like, if we're operating at a subsidy,
Right.
then we're not really increasing the overall revenue.
Let's say profit, or, like
Profit.
revenue is just money brought in
Yeah.
and then you offset it with costs.
sure,
So we're talking about 3 hours in a day, and there is money coming in and out. I could do that extra analysis and get the details from Councilman Hunsaker and see what that does with this, and that's maybe as we go into the next phase of this. That's one of the things that we could do and figure out on the hours.
No, I understand the conversation we're having. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, it's, the value propositions is what we're adding,
Yeah.
and to have the pool. And I get the comparison is there, and it is somewhat a distortion. As part of that, though, that option 2, I would be curious why it seems to be so prominent there.
Mhm.
With the expenses and, additional funding needed. Option 2 to me, I mean, option 3 was a bigger building,
Mhm.
there are things, I get it, but that seems to indicate to me that it is, option 2 is saving. I mean, I'm surprised that it's that much of a savings.
I would have to get more feedback from Councilman Hunsaker on that, and I can in fact. Yeah. I think a lot of their stuff was based kind of on more on models on square footage and things like that. And even though option 2 and 3, there was not there wasn't a huge difference in the square footage. It was, the big main thing there was putting everything all on one floor, so it looked bigger as they put it all out, but when you looked at like the actual like space of the different pins, that wasn't that much, and so I think that a lot of their numbers are just based on the square footage thing, but I could get more info on that. Let me move on to the other operational stuff. Like I said, right now is just kind of the first pass at this, and then if I can get more details, then I can dive deeper into this another time. This is a couple of the other things for operational needs that we were talking about. So parks was the main thing there, where you know, we have 25 developed acres, 48 undeveloped, 5.9 miles of trail, and the parks inventory has quadrupled in the last 15 years. We have, you know, one full-time maintenance person, we have a 10 by 14 foot shed in the parking lot. So this is actually a smaller ask than we asked for in the last time when we asked in 2024 as far as the number of people we were needing. The reason that we reduced this number what is because we were looking at bringing on West Side Park, which was a labor intensive park with ball fields and things like that. We so I was looking at that maintenance supervisor, the half the FTE going over to the pool, and so that's where I added it there. So I would need to add a half FTE over on this side to make it whole. So that's the maintenance supervisor to be a full so that would actually just be a full-time employee there, but I would add a half FTE there. Then one maintenance tech position, so we would have like one extra full-time person that is full-time with the 40-hour week with benefits. So year round, we would have two people. Right now, we actually are kind of running two people, but it's because we have two part-time employees that are kind of making up a full one person. That's a miracle that we actually are able to do that year round. Usually the part-time people are seasonal employees. And we just, right now, for the last year, I've actually had our part-time people sticking around. One of our part-time people's our longest time employee, Gina, who's been here over 20 years, but well, I don't know if we'll always have Gina. And then 3 seasonal employees. It would also, we would need more equipment, so it's an additional truck and some additional equipment. One thing that is not addressed anywhere in here is additional space, like the 10 by 14 foot shed is still what we have. I mean, we could add more sheds and things like that, but we still don't have like an actual like space. That's more of a capital ask. And the direction we've gotten so far with the board is to focus on the pool this time. And we just didn't feel like there was anywhere within the pool where we could try and build out like a shop. That's not really the appropriate place to have a shop, is in the pool, or part of the pool. I think that if we do develop a park later, then that's probably the place where we will put some sort of maintenance shop. So we can make things a little bit nicer for them and do some upgrades there with work the shed and things like that, but we still don't have an actual spot. Couple of other things, recreation, there was a funding gap caused by the loss of funding from the school district. And then there's some potential fund unknowns with the new facility use agreement and IGA negotiations. I did reduce that dollar amount a little bit from what we were asking for the first time. It's just reduced about $14,000 in what the estimate is right now. And then communication and outreach volunteer coordinator, this is not necessarily a proposed thing, it's just operational needs, and I'm just trying to let you know like where we could use some extra spots or extra funding. So communication, outreach, and volunteer coordinator. We've really upped our communication game lately. That has taken a huge toll on staff, and it's very much broken up. Kelsey's taken a large part of it, but there's a lot of work that, you know, we didn't grow any extra people here, and so there's a lot. But then like on Dave's newsletter is done, I mean, all of us are dropping what we're doing, reviewing stuff, doing stuff and everything. It would be nice to have kind of all centralized with somebody, but then someone that could also do some grant writing and volunteer coordination to try and like actually, you know, bring in some more help and such. We're doing a little bit more volunteer stuff. Years ago, we had a couple of groups. The Protect Our Parks group was doing a bunch with Morrison Park and such. that takes staff to do. You can't, we volunteers, we just would need to have somebody. that's-
Especially when you think about a position like this, what we know is effective is getting out into the community and tabling and talking to people. And I mean, you know, Kelsey and I did First Friday, you know, like 2 First Fridays ago. And we were like, wow, this is like so important to do. And, you know, it's so important for us to be out there in the community, but like, literally, like, we can not do it I mean, like, there's only so many of us to do that. So if we did have a dedicated person on outreach and communications, it could really be a beneficial thing for a variety of ways of communicating with the public.
One other position that could be useful here is a planning and project manager. These are other tasks that are just too much that we're just not doing right now. With capital improvement planning, our SDC methodology was last done in 2017 and usually is done about every 8 years or so. The master plan was done in 2020 and the one before that was 2012, and so that one was on a 8-year cycle, and so we're gonna start kind of thinking about a new master plan again. That's a huge push. And then project management and with capital projects, the pool is going to be a huge thing. Where having somebody that knows project management, capital projects could help in that spot as well. And so there's also things with identifying a list of deferred maintenance projects and starting to plan out how we're going to start attacking those sorts of things. And doing more analysis on like inventory of our current things. I've mentioned before that like if we had like some sort of plan in place where we repaved or not paved, but re-graveled a half a mile of trail per year or whatever the thing is in order to keep that asset up and such. We just don't have those plans. That we right now we're kind of at a reactive, when it breaks, we fix it sort of thing. So this would, I think, be another one of those things that kind of helps us bring us up our level of service.
So I have a question, and
Yeah.
I'll say, please don't take this combative.
Yeah.
Just so I clarify.
Yeah.
My understanding was kind of your role, I thought, is kind of the grants and communication outreach and all those things, isn't that as the AD, right?
So like,
And-
I have been like.
I know you have, you got a
the
grant,
Project,
100%.
the project manager and grant writer, and I think that.
Well, you've been doing both those roles,
Yeah.
I'm curious, but
Yeah.
I'm trying
You've
to
also-
who's doing what?
In charge of operating recreation, in charge of the pool, managing the pool. She's kind of like an operations manager here.
And that's
like-
really, I'm just clarifying for the public and just also for my own sake, just to hear, so
Yeah.
if we're asking for other roles to be filled. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, because I have kind of assumed that the planning manager and project managers kind of falls into on your plate. And I thought yours was kind of doing the outreach and the grant writing and things like that, so yeah, that's what I'm trying to clarify.
And that's how we divide up the work. I'm not saying that this stuff is stuff that we're not doing right now, but
Yeah.
we're not doing it well and to the level that it should be with the Parks District, where
Yeah.
like some of this stuff is being neglected and is a little bit of an afterthought.
Got it.
And we would like to be able, like, things like,
I mean, also like HR
Yeah.
and like, so like, you know, like if you look at our employee handbook, like I'm apparently like the HR consultant too, you know, I mean, like I'm in charge of, you know, like it's like for such a small district. I mean, I think, you know, we're growing and expanding and like at some point, there's gonna need to be like how is it that we should grow and expand and where should we be focusing and prioritizing those positions, right?
I spent the first part of my day doing Windows updates on the front desk computers and then ordering new computers because they're no longer supporting Windows 10. And those arrive tomorrow and I'm going to be building those things out and everything. I'm the IT guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, we all wear like a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of being a small special district and we're happy to do it and everything, but there's just like every single time, like this morning, I should have been working on this presentation and I'm sitting there trying to make sure that there's updates in the computer so that when the staff comes in the morning, they're able to like check people in, and things like that. So it's just trying to like see if we can get the support staff that we need so that we can do our jobs, because there's so many things where like we're just not able to get things done because we're, you know, chasing after all of these tasks and things like that. So it's just making sure that we can try and get
Makes sense.
build up what, you know, the things that we're missing and things that we need. And these are just suggestions at this point, like right now, I'm just trying to like give you guys like a good picture of the things that I think we need.
Yeah.
Got it. So, and I can, like, when we get through here, you let me know what other things I can research and then how much more detail you need on these things, and I'm happy to bring those to another meeting. This shows you kind of the cost breakdown. For every penny per thousand that we that we charge within our district, it brings in about a little under $30,000 in revenue. And so for the new pool operations, I just chose option 2 as the one as a placeholder. And again, this number can change. All these numbers can change. That's why I've got this little disclaimer here. All these items are estimates and subject to change. But if, you know, if we decide to play around with the hours or play around with the revenue and change some things, or you know, whatever things, we will adjust all of these numbers. But just to give you an idea of like what each of these would cost. So the first 3 I put in this kind of darker blue right there, which are kind of like more of the core things, which is pool operations, 530,000, that would be about another 18 cents per thousand. Parks and trails maintenance, to get caught up to where I think that we need to be would be about 12 cents per thousand. Funding the recreation gap that was left with the school district. So I did some additional work could be used or could be done here, but right now, just as an estimate, I put in about $100,000, which is about 3 cents per thousand. And then the 2 positions that I just mentioned, communications volunteer coordinator and planning manager capital coordinator is 5 cents per thousand. Total of that would be about 39 cents per thousand. I did share a slide earlier showing like what our rates were, and Christy just reminded me that was an earlier slide that I had pulled up from some of our planning. But the actual one, when we finally went live, because we had added a few things, was 43 cents per thousand. So this is right now about 4 cents per thousand under what we had asked for in the previous cycle.
And would that 4 cents conceivably be consumed if we did the option 3? Cause that was 6-something, 604, 608 or something like that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
You mean on the new pool operations part?
yeah.
Cause that, I mean, to me, that,
It looks like there's a little
I'm a
bit.
biased person, but you know, we could justify using option 3 in that the survey was very favorable, you know, I had the highest approval rating.
Mhm.
There's a whole issues with the survey, but I mean, just as a starting point, if you change that to the option 3, would that get us to, do you think that would get us back to what we had asked for originally?
Yeah, so 30 cents per thousand, so that's 70, what's the other?
It would be multi,
So about, yeah, a little under 3 cents per thousand.
so that gets us back to 42.
Would put us, yeah, close to that.
One of the things I feel like I hear as well is the dark blue up top that you had, the lighter blue down below, previous slide, green and red. If things, whatever the numbers tallied out to be this go around, if we asked for all of those, we would get rid of the light blue next go around. If it didn't go in May and we were saying something else, that's where we would trim first and foremost, is all that additional stuff that you were saying, we're doing it, but we may not be doing it well. This would help us grow and expand. I see Christy like.
No, I'm
"Would we
getting,
though?"
okay, you're saying, did you just say, like, if it doesn't pass in May and we have to go, yeah, third time?
Third effort.
Right, that's what I'm
we
saying, like,
cut 8 cents.
I'm not trying to like prognosticate or do any of that, I'm just like, it goes back to the library again, okay, well, they cut it here, somehow they went from 70 down to 39, and they're like, okay, that equated to something, but what you're pointing out here is, this is kind of the bare minimum that we've tallied, here's where we'd like to go to be able to really kind of keep up, but
I don't know if I would start, making plans for what the next one,
Yeah, because, no, I get what you're saying.
yeah.
I mean, but this to me aligns with the new pool effort and talks about operations in a clear way to show what the community will get.
Mhm.
And operations was always going to be a fairly static number no matter what, because you open the doors, you gotta turn on the heat. I mean, there are baked in costs with operations that weren't gonna change them.
Correct, which is why our numbers are still so close to what they were last time.
So you know, to me, again, I always think about the value proposition. That's the argument, what are we giving to the community? We're giving a more responsive, Parks and Rec department that's doing more and is making things look like they should.
Agreed.
And so, yeah,
And I like to sell it that way too, and I just think about what we heard last time, which was that's too much, make it less. And I'm thinking, because last time they expected us to go out again in November, they're like, if it doesn't pass in May, you're gonna give us less in November, and we actually said, no, we're not, we're gonna retool this and figure it out. But I anticipate that being said again in May, potentially, that's gonna be the argument of, okay, but this November. what will
but the
that look like?
operations, I think that sentiment absolutely was all about the pool, not about the operations.
Yeah, and you just think they were a rider, they just tagged along because they were together,
Yeah, and it was easier to say no.
right?
I mean, I don't know how much, parsing of the two was going on, and it was, I don't like the pool costs, and so I'm not going to vote, I'm not gonna support either. I almost heard of no one saying yes, no, in some combination. So,
I know of some, but.
Yeah, but
And there were some,
still,
but still, that's not, yeah, I do agree with you. I think it was mostly like, do I support this effort or do I not like it overall? I think, we have a lot of concepts baked into what just transpired here. And one of them is like what if it doesn't pass? And that needs to be another conversation.
Yeah.
Another time, for sure. And that's one of the pieces of feedback we got, like, tell people what's gonna happen if it doesn't pass. So I think we need to make sure to like capture that we need that as a discussion point with the next meetings to come back to.
What
That this board needs to define for the public what is going to happen if the measures fail. Because we did not give any clarity last time around about that. And so therefore, people were like, oh, they'll go back out in November and
the
cut it down.
speculation.
Yeah,
and the like.
yeah.
But part of the reason why we did that, if I recall, was really just so there wasn't a baked in backup plan. Like, no, I don't like this. I like what's coming in November anyways. And part of the reason why we don't know what's coming in November necessarily, this is what we've worked hard to try to present, and we believe it's the best case scenario. And then we had no, and we weren't ready for November.
I mean, but to your point, Christy, you're saying like tangible things, like if A, B, or C doesn't occur, the pool may close.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
like
we
if
will
the
close-
boiler breaks.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Something like that.
Or like.
Recreational
since-
programming.
Yep.
Recreation programming,
Yep.
Yes,
Exactly, we
okay.
will, whatever, close on X date to start saving money for a new pool or whatever that scenario is. I think we should learn from last time and give more clarity around that.
Agreed.
So at a future board meeting,
At a
that,
future, yeah.
that needs to be discussion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a look at operations, and we can come back a little bit and well, actually, we'll see right now. Are there any other questions right now or things that you want me to bring back at another meeting I already got more detail on some of the on the complement incentive thing.
And specifically option 2.
Okay, yeah,
Like that number symbol.
Yeah.
And if I could ask, then what I also would like to see is same thing, understood, got it, supported. Option 3.
I'll see that with option 3.
Yeah.
I would like some clarity because because we will surely be asked if we go with something like this.
Yeah.
The recreation item. What really is that covering?
Yeah.
Because I think you've covered it well with all the other ones,
Mhm.
like what you get out of it, but fund recreation gap is not very compelling.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and I think that I could use some help, like with the board on that. I think that this is where kind of the scary part comes in, which is we took over a program that was operating at a loss. The school district funded that loss for 3 years. That contract is up and they're no longer funding that loss.
Just to clarify, that was taken from, this program was taken from the school district, so
Yeah.
I just wanna make it clear. If
Sure.
anyone's watching this for the first time.
Yeah,
That the school district isn't paying for something that you took from someone else. The
right,
school district gave you guys this program that was operating at loss.
Yep.
And so they were offsetting what they gave you.
yes.
They were providing originally
Yeah.
2 paid full-time positions.
Yeah.
When that deal transferred over,
Yeah.
we took on 2 full-time positions.
Yeah.
Which they funded for 3 years.
Yeah, and we're not asking to fund the exact amount that they were funding, that was about $192,000. Because we do make revenue from the programs. But the amount of money that, without that extra amount that the school district was funding. And the reason that we are actually able to continue running it right now at a loss is because we created the recreation fund as an enterprise fund, and we banked that extra money for a bit to give us a bit of a buffer, but that buffer is going to be running out, and when it runs to a certain point, we don't have enough money to continue running recreation. It's a nuanced answer and and a little bit hard to explain in a sound bite, but you're right, that could use some work on what exactly that is. The tough thing with that is that it is nothing new. There's not, it does, when we were framing it last time, we had like some kids programs or summer camp program, we were making things more robust and some other things. Right now, and I think part of it is that, we don't know what our IGA is going to look like. We might have to start paying for new facilities and some other things. We will definitely have to shift kind of the way that we are operating things, which we're already starting to do. With our new computer software system and some other things. We are not, we're not adding recreation programming and such with this money. This is more just to be able to operate this program because it just was not something.
And the highlight is and continues to be the shoestring of what this community has had to rely on. And the Herculean task that everyone in this building has undertaken to provide services that we expect from a Parks and Rec department. And now we need to step up and fund it in a real way. I mean, that to me is the counter argument, not that there's pro or con, but just that's the thing that I would like to stress, and I do stress to people, and they talk to me about these things, is that this thing is not flush. It is ridiculously underfunded. And what we're able to provide for the community right now is amazing. Let's do better.
So we could definitely provide, I think, at our early November, we're supposed to be getting into talks with the school district on like working on IGA revision. So, and I am gonna be working with recreation in the next couple of weeks on defining some scope work of the things that we should be looking for in the future. To see what we can do to help increase some revenue and that sort of thing. So I think at our next meeting, we could probably provide a lot more information on recreation, which could give you all some good ideas for future, what happens if.
Yeah, because it
Scenarios.
sounds like it might just be, instead of like, what do you get, it's what do you not lose?
Right,
Is what it
Right.
sounds like it is for that number.
yeah.
To tack on to, I guess, that conversation, then, I mean, I don't know if this is just gonna make things more complicated, which we're already not even at the pool stuff yet, but. And is it worth chasing to see if we could somehow connect some kind of a levy like this that also includes maintaining the school fields that the school could then help support? So if we make it, if we can up it to like 50 cents or 60 cents, but then it also includes all of their fields, like the maintenance, like the outsticks. And maybe even their basketball, I mean, I don't know, like if we could offset some of that cost on their end, but we could put it on a bond or on a levy, sorry, for us that we share with them and we'll split it and it's going towards the pool and isn't that something that would be worth chasing and we could actually get them to help help us pass it rather than just have us be alone on this.
I think that is something that there's lots of options on the table.
That's
for
what
sure.
I would pursue,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. We've also talked about, partners with the city as well on, different funding options that might help with the ports and some other ones as well that are in some tough,
I
situations.
think as long as they're all under the umbrella of recreation, that's my only thing, is I wouldn't want to get into this really muddy situation where we're helping take care of something that's not really recreation related. But I think kids using the basketball courts, kids using the football field and the soccer fields that we all use also, and if we could get that as a part of the IGA too, or, that you work with the school district on. I mean, I think that would be a way to get the levy being a combination thing, and then our pool thing is still a separate thing. But we can work with them on that, and hopefully be mutually beneficial. And yeah, throw in waterfront parks or the parks that are outdoor parks that tourists use and the locals use. That then maybe you can throw in the city on that too, but then I don't know if you get too many cooks at that point.
I think I would focus on one partner right
Yeah.
now instead of a bunch on some sort of operation already.
But then maybe in November, that conversation with the school district, when you're talking IGA, maybe that might be something to pursue.
Yeah. Well, we've mentioned it with the school district board. They said that they're interested, but I know that they also are looking at going out for a bond, capital bond for themselves in
Yeah, for
November.
But if we could
and-
offset some of the maintenance.
Yeah.
What would that bond?
They've got they don't know yet. They've got
There are a lot of facility improvements they were working towards.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just a laundry list, it's not like a school.
Yeah, no, I think it's more like HVAC and things like that. Yeah. Okay, the next one, I just wanted to give you an idea. This is one that I was gonna have at the end, but I decided to put it at the beginning just to kind of give you an idea of like what we're looking at on numbers here. And so this is a list of dollar amounts of how much a bond would be. And then a list of what the rate would be at a 25-year loan rate, and then the average cost, the annual cost for an average home and the monthly cost for an average home on these. And so I just kind of put just an increment of every couple million or so, starting with the low end, and then went up to about 45. Then I just jumped up to the high end. I didn't want to. I ran out of room there to make this so long. And then just for scale, I wanted to show what $71 million, which was what we had to ask for before, what that one did, which was $1.27. You may notice right here that it's only 279 between 275 and 279 when we have this huge jump there. The reason for that smaller jump right there is that the average, we were actually using the median assessed value, and we were using the number that we got from the county, but that was for the entire county, whereas this is the average number for our district. And so that number changed. The other thing that changed is are the rates are about 1% higher. Interest rates of what we're estimating right now. And so we don't have quite as much buying power with the rates. And so that is that's the reason for that. But anyways, I just want to let you all know kind of what those rates are. And so basically, if we came in somewhere in, the 43 million or so, it'd be 80 cents per thousand, quite a bit lower than the $1.27. But
The total then, in terms of what Parks and Rec have required, is say $1. Just math, because math in public's always tough. $1, say 40, what did we ask? 42 cents. And then what we currently get, correct?
Yeah.
So it would be $1 plus 42 plus 30, 32, 34. Those three numbers would be the expenditure for.
The total, yeah. And I could put that all in one sheet too, and that usually we do when we're showing it is, in fact, like, if you use the new tool that we had the county create, it actually has the total amount in there. So, but I just want to give everyone kind of an idea before we start getting into options and talking about that, kind of like what rates would look like at these different different increments. And I can always jump back to the slide again if, well, while we're talking, you're saying, hey, can we go back to that? So, I'm gonna turn it over to Marcy now to kind of go over the, the capital side and.
Yeah, so this is just, so in your board packet was, Christie compiled, advisory council feedback. So since we were talking about operational, needs, when we asked the advisory council, we got their feedback on, operations. So I just pulled it, it's in your packet, but also up here on the slides, just talking about, one of the questions is what's your recommendations regarding operation funding? And if you'll remember at the last board meeting, there was like the big overview on the food and beverage and operation levy. So it was a little bit about food and beverage, or levy. So, we had 5 people say only consider the levy. 4 people consider both levy, or food and, beverage consider both options. And then, 1 said only consider, a food and beverage, and then there were no people who said do not do an operations funding at this time. Chrissy, do you have any like things that you want to talk about with the advisory council feedback, specifically about, operations?
Well, I want to add a little nuance to the one item one. That person in particular is very against doing an operation levy. Because of feeling like there will already be a lot of costs for taxpayers and that the users should carry more of the expense for essentially the pool, you know, or for what the options are. So, but also from what's said there, like this idea of being able to, you know, tax tourists and not just have it be all on locals. I think, and do note the city part, so 100% of those who said consider the other approach said do it in this city, not the full county.
Consider a food and beverage.
Yeah.
But only in the city.
Only in the city residents who are within our district.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, well, yeah,
Yeah,
the city
yeah,
limits
yeah,
would be
yeah,
who
yeah,
would vote
yeah.
on it, yeah.
Um,
But of course, just for clarity, maybe if someone's like listening, you
Mhm.
know, how that would work, it wouldn't mean like if you're a county resident, you don't pay that tax. It depends on what establishment you go to,
Mhm.
right? Whether that establishment is in the city or the county,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Which the majority of the Portland.
If it were to pass.
If it were, yeah, there's this, in this hypothetical
Yeah,
scenario,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so,
Was there any I mean, cause you brought this up at our last meeting, which was the dissolution and reestablishment. What was that presented to them?
It was
It
mentioned.
was
Yeah.
mentioned,
It was
yeah,
mentioned.
Yeah,
yeah.
Was there any?
I don't think it
Not
just seemed too
really.
complicated, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think
Yeah.
we're just, they were, I think the focus was just on levy tax, so
Yeah.
that's the discussion point.
yeah, and I think they didn't bring it up specifically at that point, I mean, we brought it up and explained how that all works and everything like that, but nobody really bit on that, but I think in the past we've said like, that's a good option once we've tried the levy for a little bit. The complication, of course, is the 2-vote thing, so if we were going for a bond and then we're going for a dissolution, there'd be 3 votes on the ballot that
Yeah.
all needed to pass.
Well, but I thought there was an option to close, reestablish, but at 176, which would be including the funding for the pool. That you would then borrow.
We tried that before and the county did not like that because they didn't like how we were financing the debt on that. Because we would have been borrowing against our general fund, which again, as I mentioned, was how the Parks District originally started when we built this building and we did all of this, but
I'm taking people off my Christmas card.
yeah. But that was why they,
I mean, I know,
Yeah.
but what? The fact that they have any say in our operations is really interesting.
Mm.
I think it's because we had to put it on, the county had to,
well, the county has to approve or has to put a new district. They're the ones that we would have to propose that, but not necessarily there is a
We
workaround.
get their signatures.
But to do that without county support against the county would not be good enough.
No, I just, that is, it's the vestiges of the old system. It has nothing to do with the reality of today. It's special districts that actually provide services to the citizens of this county.
So we can move to the next slide. So, I mean, like, I think as we move forward just with operation funding, these are. The only question too is an additional question. These are the same questions that Christy asked the advisory council. At our last advisory council meeting, then I added in like what operational needs should be prioritized. Is there anything, I guess, as we move forward, like, do you want more information on food and beverage? Do you need more information? What more information do you need moving forward?
I mean, I like the idea of at least pursuing the city tax just to see, I mean, what it would generate, would it be worth the stress, would it be worth the risk? I mean, just to at least see what the numbers are. I mean, are we chasing it for nothing? I know there'd be pushback and, but I think if you're just talking about informational and trying to see, I think a city focused tax might be at least worth looking into.
I mean, I'm not a proponent of it in many, many ways, but the one comment that stood out to me was just the statewide pushback that would be experienced. And I would want to see the data for those areas where it was approved. And if you can understand what that pushback looked like, because we already dealt with Collins Field last time. And that was enough to derail us. So now imagine an entire state that is anti-tax funding targets against us.
So perhaps contacting the cities where it has passed and kind of find out about their experience.
So yeah,
Data
that's like,
the deep dive.
that's Cannon Beach,
There's
Ashland,
three, yeah,
Ashley,
and Yahats.
and Yahas.
Mhm.
So do some pros and cons and like, at the,
I mean, to me, one of the risks, I mean, like, we did a tremendous amount with this levy and bond and I don't know, I feel like we had the Schoolhouse Rock moment where people are getting it. If we shift, I mean, I think I would love to see us do the dissolution reestablish at a higher rate, use the delta to borrow against and, then that's 2 votes and we're done for decades.
Yeah.
Understand, that's just talking. But if we go down the route of a sales tax, I feel like, that the education piece, as frustrating as it is, we got through that. And to start with a completely different thing, and I just talked out of both sides of the mouth, because I'm advocating for the dissolution, which is a completely set of, but if we're stuck, and I really feel like we're stuck at this, what isn't an optimal outcome, which is levy and bond. I would like to see us go all in on that. I just, introducing a new mechanism to fund. I think there's a better answer out there, but I just don't know.
so Brian, you're saying focus on levy.
No, he was
No,
saying
dissolution reestablishment.
Well, I mean, yeah, because if we're gonna throw out if we're gonna have to have an education piece about taxes, I'd like to also have an education piece about dissolution reestablishment and let's because like I said, let's be done with this for decades.
Yeah, I mean, the levy is just a stopgap and.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, yeah, right, exactly. But again, I feel like we're almost stuck with this levy bond thing.
I think you have a point about like the education has been put out there, and so I think there is value to that. As I said last meeting, still do want to look a little bit into the prepared food and beverage tax, like just get some insights from those places. Talk to a few restaurateurs, ideally with some information we can provide to them, not just like, we need money. Is it okay? Are you okay with the tax? Like specifics, like this is why it's needed. These are the things.
And the impact, they need to know. how
Yeah,
it
the
will
impact,
them.
yeah. And why would be going for that instead of a levy, like why those 2 options might be considered. I'll say that, I still think both should be explored. I also think like if we do end up landing on levy from like the reason you said, I think it would be good to be then planning for, at the 5-year mark, what is the option? And be planning way ahead, and I know maybe none of us will even be on the board at that point,
Right.
but at that point, we will again be back to the point of, do we do levy, do we do prepared food and beverage, or do we do dissolution? And it might be at that point that we do prepared food and beverage, so I guess I said a lot, but I would like to get a little more information on both options.
No, I mean, I like the long ball game. I like that. I mean, because it's not a one bite at the apple. I mean, you know, and then by then we'd have the pool
Mhm.
and we'd be able to show off this
Right.
amazing facility. We would have, you know, well managed, or not managed, but maintained, you know, park space, green space, which we're showing constantly the value.
One other thing is, you know, I dropped down the amount of people I would need because of with not having West Side Park for the levy, and that's a good thing. The good thing about the levy is that we can change that as things change. So like if we were to dissolve and reform, and then we got a grant and somehow somebody donated a whole bunch of money, we were able to build West Side Park or something like that, we wouldn't have the operation dollars and we wouldn't be quite as flexible as being able to like add to it. I mean, I suppose we could always get a levy after that, but having a levy, for the most part, I definitely prefer a fixed funding thing. The thought of having to go out and do an election every 5 years is not appealing to me. But the right side of it is being able to make adjustments and can go to the community and say, look, we would like to be able to add this thing. It's gonna cost an extra 3 cents per thousand in order to be able to do this, you know, this extra stuff. So, you know, usually you do see levies just renew at the exact same rate, but it gives me the option.
So I'm hearing get more information on food and beverage. Do some research on the data from other cities, success and the pushback. And more information on recreation funding. Recreation, that was from like previously,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So is there any other?
And talk to some local restaurateurs at some point. I mean, I don't know if that is necessarily like in the next 4 weeks, or if that's might be the next stage, you know,
So, I mean, I think like to your point, like with the information, so like
Yeah.
if you need more information for the food and beverage, it's probably possible to like scope that,
do that first.
right?
Yeah.
That you think
Yeah.
that makes sense?
Yeah,
I mean, so,
okay. Sounds good.
but with the goal of then the communication, right? Okay, all right. Is there anything else that we should be prioritizing? Okay. All right. So we've talked about these items. Just a reminder of
You
the
are
things.
here.
I promise, we'll go a little quick.
It will go faster, I hope, from here. So I have these slides up because the main reason is because as we're beginning to like refine the way that you want to move, if you're like, I need to see the visual of like what option 1, 2, or 3 look like, you have these up here. So just gives you
We'll be able to pass around.
Okay, before you get started here,
Mhm.
are you intending to like present all that data to us?
not at this
Okay.
time. Yeah, so
Like, they
yeah.
did their homework and
Right,
they
yeah.
looked at it ahead of time.
Yeah, so, and I guess like the main thing is just like if there's any information, I do think it's important to just pause on a couple of things. So we have on all of the concepts, concept 1, I think it is important to just talk about some of the items that was listed as like the things that why they liked option 1, right? So like some of the things that we heard are like durability and longevity. So like people like the cost and the value of concept 1. They like the idea that it has the removable tent panels so that it's open air. Right, so we could probably go into concept 2. So these pictures are again, just up here for if you need them, you could probably go to concept 2 for the other. So one thing to point out on, which I did, can you go back to the previous slide? So it is important to note that other was selected as like one of the highest reasons. So looking at the other comments is actually like an important factor here for concept 2. So, these are like the key themes in the other concepts. So design and layout was one of the most frequently mentioned things. So people liked like the flip-flop pools, and like more efficient use of space. It seemed like people commented that it seemed like a compromise. So you have a roofed enclosure, a little more balance in cost. And, but you're able to get a little bit longer longevity. And then we can move on to option 3. So remember, concept 3 is the 1 level. And, so obviously we don't have anything on the 2nd story view. So you can keep moving through, Mark, to, so one of the things that they said here was like maximizing the available site were some of the things, but then we still had they like the pool layout. And then we still had a lot of comments in the other slide, so we added that in. So if you could go to the next slide, Mark. So again, it's, we did have like 800 and some respondents to this. One thing that was noted that the advisory council noted, and it's obviously like a lot of people who support the pool are responding. So we have a lot of people preferring concept 3 because I think they are supporters of the pool, seeing, long-term benefits, talking about worth the investment. Accessibility was an item mentioned, and durability and longevity. So then just a reminder that you can scroll down. This was how between all of the participants, how people thought about the items, which was concept 3 was thought to be the most desired. Then concept 2, we had 15% undecided and 9% at concept 1. When asked about why they liked concept, whatever concept they chose, cost and funding came up a lot. So important factors to consider was the most frequently mentioned theme. Layout came up a lot. The other comments included, the pool is an important community resource. And then kind of narrowing down to talking more about desired amenities or durability and sustainability sort of things. All right, and so then just kind of getting into some just reminders of like why people said the things that they did. Just reminders that there were some people who said that they did not think that voting for this was none of the above. I don't like it. And so some of them were, I don't like these concepts, have your money spent elsewhere, and keeping things practical. When looking at amenities, the large operable doors came in pretty high, outdoor splash pads, skylights, on down. And then amenities that people want to have, was that retractable roof, right? A sauna or steam room, and the enhanced stormwater. I did think if you could go down to the next slide, Mark, that this slide was actually the most interesting slide to look at in terms of amenities, like, so for example, you know, like when you look at just the blue for back at like the most essential, large operable doors came in, you know, obviously pretty high, but then when you look at like essential and want to have, then you see how important that enhanced warm water pool then becomes. And so I think that this is it really does give you a really interesting perspective in thinking about like amenities, because we're gonna be talking about some of those items tonight. So like in thinking about like the feedback that you get here and thinking about how we might begin to start to prioritize what is essential to have. So let's see. So Christy put together the information from the advisory council. And so this is in your packet as well, and provides just feedback from the advisory council. So the first part was feedback from the survey. Now we're talking about feedback from the advisory council. So you know, overall, I would say that we got a lot of feedback from the advisory council that, you know, from the survey, it felt like that, you know, it was very much a lot, it maybe the data was skewed towards pool supporters. And that we didn't have enough information based on a lot of the people who might have voted no or didn't participate. And that thinking about how people might vote in the future is an important aspect. And so the feedback that we got from them was, you know, not enough skeptics, not enough no voters filled out the survey. There was some surprise that people chose number 3. Cost is obviously an important factor. Is there anything else that Jace or Christy that in the advisory council meeting in our discussion?
The vibe I got from just talking in the room and listening was just the fact that I think most people aren't really worried about, I mean, yeah, they might have gotten the concept 3, but a lot of people in the room that day just sounded like they just want something. There was pretty heavy interest in even just concept 1, just bare bones, something that can pass, something that's basically a replication of what we have going here right now. And I don't know that I entirely disagree with that, other than the fact that I would want it to be structured, but I think instead of tense, but I think ultimately that was the vibe I got from the room, is that cost, that was the bottom line.
I would characterize it slightly different.
Yeah.
In that it's not that they want option
Oh,
one,
right,
that
yeah.
they
They
want
think what's gonna
a
pass.
measure that's gonna pass.
100%, yes.
And it was like, there was
Yeah.
kind of almost like a sense of disappointment, like,
100%.
okay.
Thank you for correcting.
Okay.
It definitely
Yeah.
was not the people in the room weren't saying like, yeah, we want the least option. I think they were just being very pragmatic
Yeah.
for understandable reasons.
And one of I thought it was, Shelley was, you know, gave data on, you know, like the Dow's pool, you know, it failed twice before finally passing. And she said, you know, the first 2 times they went out, they asked, you know, first time they asked for, you know, a lot, second time they pared it down. And then the third time they asked for what they had, and then it passed. It was an interesting perspective. So, I mean, her recommendation was to essentially ask for what you had, but we did hear a lot of pare it down. It perhaps one of the things that I think that many people kind of were like, yes, concept 1 they felt like would likely be a little maybe successful. Concept 2, you could probably get people to concept 2, but I've scaled back concept 2. That was my overall takeaway. I don't know if.
I'd say that's a reasonable takeaway. That's about what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Can you say more about the comment of the small additions have large value added? where that discussion went?
They're talking about like
Yeah,
ropes,
we're, oh,
like
yeah.
little
that-
things like slides and rope swings. I think.
Yeah, like those things, like get people excited to get people in the door, you know, maybe help you fundraise, things like,
It doesn't cost much, but you're gonna get more votes that way.
yeah.
Well, they don't have votes, but just people are excited about it. But yeah.
The votes.
And-
I mean, kids aren't gonna vote, but if there's a bump about a slide, maybe the parents will.
And I think splash pad was what that person said. I mean, I don't know if I would use that as an example of a small one, because I think that's a pretty big one. But that was an example given, yeah.
Okay, and then, and so, this is, based on the results, like what option did people think that they should, that we should, that you all should be moving us towards? So kind of a split between option 1 and 2. And I would say yes, like the kind of the resigned yes, option 1 might be, a good one to go for, or an option 2. Some people still think that we should be slowing down and taking our time, and not, going out, in May. And then look more into the food and beverage. So again, working on the communication, voters want transparency, so, all right, and so then we've been talking to Integris a lot, so they also gave us some feedback. So, the 3 biggest items that we heard from them in our last, I told Tom that I was gonna actually quote him, was on the roof, that he thought that it was the best, stewardship, you can do for your community. Connection to the outdoors, is what he thought was a really, in what they said was super important. So natural light through windows and operable doors, and flow. So how people access pools and move through the building is a super important consideration. So as you move towards making some decisions, thinking about those things would be important. So, some of the things that we've talked about with them is like, are there items that we can phase? So like, you know, if we know that we need to continue to cut costs, like what are those items, right? So, like any sort of like outdoor thing, like, so plaza is considered the outdoor, so deck, any sort of outdoor deck space, outdoor area, like all of that, could be considered a phased approach. Splash pad, we can stub it, and then, you know, fundraise for that. So that if you wanted to go back to see concept 2, there was on that second story, there was, space. Is everybody familiar with that? That could be put over, yeah. So this could be a phased approach where maybe one day, if there were more money, we could have, you know, an additional, space that could
They
be.
would just build the roof up at that same height right there and then just like have a space without HVAC and without anything, so just.
And then, you know, something to consider for like, is this essential or not essential? But they said that this room could be, you know, like a multi-purpose room, so party room could be something that is, could be phased. And then, spectator space, so like bleacher area. And then solar or, solar system could be, something that could be phased. And then we also asked them, you know, like, and I emailed them today to be like, did we get this right? You know, like I put together this slide and they gave us input. So items that generally cannot be phased are like the general shell of the building and the pool, right? So the pool volume, so like how much water and, the layout. So like, once you do that, you're pretty much stuck with what you got. Skylights and windows, and so then we asked for clarification on that. So large doors to bring in light and connect to outdoors would not be a good idea. A good item for phasing was a quoted item from an email that we got from them today. So moving forward, we do have handouts for you all, but we also have it up here on on the board, and we can easily type in things as we're talking. We are supposed to be providing our, Integris with information about where to go, right? And so we need to give them, your feedback. So, moving forward, we're looking for feedback. You know, do you want to keep what we have? So like keep it rectangular design, or the angle design, which is like more like concept 3, right? Pool configuration, do you want to see 3 bodies of water, 2 bodies of water, a flip-flopped pool, permanent roof versus a tent structure? Did you see benefit in having one or 2 stories?
I mean, if we're just kind of going through it, I mean, and you just, so angled, flipped, permanent, 1.
Oh, you're saying you're voting on
What?
all of them. I thought
Sorry.
I was
What?
figuring we would talk about one of them,
Oh,
and then the next
okay.
one.
But-
Okay,
Please, I'm in. Yeah.
Okay, so you
So
said
Brian-
angled?
okay.
I mean, and that's this hybrid that we did discuss earlier, which is doing option 2, but angled.
Well, it would be hybrid of 2 and 3, not 1
Yeah.
and 2.
Good.
I just, I don't know if this is, if we're gonna break down each thing, I mean, honestly, I'll just say what I was looking for at this point, after hearing what people say and what they think we're willing to pass. I just think we need a bare bones structure with a roof, and then with the potential for expansion. And I would like it ideally to be around the $39 million range, so if that means we have to pare down a little bit to get to around 39, that's where my gut takes me. And then I think that we've also talked about potentially with the expansion stuff, where that's where the fundraising can come in, and we can try to fundraise for the amenities that are like some of those things that were listed on the previous page. So, I mean, I don't know, all this other stuff, if we could break it down to all these individual things, like, I don't know how specific you want us to go tonight. I mean, I just, that's my
So
2 cents.
you want, like, so what I'm hearing from you is like a permanent roof.
Permanent roof is important, like a roof is important to me. That was the thing. I was coming here before I read his quote. It's like, that's like, it just seems silly to not have, reuse a tents essentially.
Oh, can we just?
Yeah, I think
Wanna go to each one?
it's hard if it's hard to track if.
So we're gonna, okay.
Yeah, so we go ahead and
All
talk
right.
about permanent roof.
Why don't we
Yeah,
talk about
so-
permanent
Yeah,
roof first,
sure,
because I
yeah,
do think
yeah.
that could be a possibly easier
Mhm,
place to start.
mhm.
Jay said permanent roof, Brian said permanent roof,
Permanent roof.
Mike says permanent roof, Christie.
Agreed.
Okay, oh my gosh, look at how easy.
They're not
that
all
was.
gonna go that way, don't jinx it.
Okay, perfect.
Back in orientation, don't we?
All right,
Sorry.
How about number of floors we might have?
for number of floors, 1 floor, 2 floors.
Or whichever is lower. cost.
Mine, so whichever is lower cost with the idea for expansion.
Same here.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I have my preference, but I believe that whichever's the lower cost is what's
Yeah.
gonna be best.
So Brian, whichever is lower cost.
I mean,
So what I'm hearing is you all are open to either, any of those design options, whichever is the lowest cost, but also provides. So I heard something that was like, potential for expansion.
Yeah, well, like we talked about, having a space above that we could then possibly fundraise and actually create that multi-function room or something like that.
I think the expansion could probably happen with.
With 2 floors.
2 floors.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
given the space.
I mean,
Well,
maybe.
so it's kind of a question of like, how important is that item? So like, I think there's consensus that like whichever is lower cost, that's clear consensus. So then it's like, okay, how important does that is that expandability? For me, it's like a nice to have, but not a must have.
I don't know that the expandability is gonna add too much of the overall cost. I just don't, because it's just framing a big empty space, or have the engineering available, like pre-engineered, so that you could then add it on after the fact. I don't think it would be a make or break amount personally. I just,
Okay,
I think ultimately, if we're all on whichever is lower cost, I think that at least gives them,
Yeah.
go with that plan.
all right, so then moving on, based on what you've said, can we talk about, let's talk about full configuration.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
everybody feels flipped.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it actually doesn't, yeah, makes
Yeah.
perfect sense, really.
Okay, okay, now building orientation.
Yeah.
But, and to me, that is kind of somewhat about the expansion. I mean, if we maximize this use of space, that allows us and affords us an ability to make, expansion decisions and build that in. It's not that everything is built immediately, but if we maximize the use of space, then we have the capacity, there is real estate to do those things. And that's why I went there immediately. And I think that does a lot to get us to the view people, rolling door people, skylight people, and the outdoors.
Yeah, with that in mind, we've had everything here on this site, yet I saw talking about tennis court somewhere else as well.
Yeah,
So
next page.
that's, yeah, exactly, but that's kind of I mean, I do want to maximize that use of space. What does that look like different here from there?
We did get word back from them. They did do an extra study on what that would cost to build on another site, and it was actually a lot less than what I had thought. It was $1 million extra to build on that site. But there's a couple of caveats. One is that does not include any tennis court relocation or anything like that, but it does
Right.
include a parking lot over here. But it also did not give us much extra space. When they factored in the hillside topography and setbacks and all of this other stuff, it is it's like 1.5 acres versus 1.3 acres of space, and so it was not very much extra, and so like it might be expansion for like a little bit more square footage of like a birthday room or something, but not like a second gym or something like that.
Right.
And so
Plus the cost of replacing the tennis courts, which would be brand new construction.
plus the complexity of then having to get on somebody else's land and find temporary parking for a year and all of that stuff. I did actually go to city council last night. They are talking about their future bone stuff and a Cavalier, if I get it down. And she was talking, they're talking about police department stuff, and was bringing up some things. They were still talking, they wanted to just bring it up as far as, well, I should say they, Anna was interested in bringing it up, talking, because she liked the idea of a police station, on this site. Of course, we would need to, if we traded these two, it would have to be for a spot for parking. The city council, decided to not talk about replacing the police department in another location, but to talk about the remodeling of the police department there. So that is where they're focusing there, which I guess does kind of leave it open to where they might not need this space, but it would have to be a lot of coordination.
Yeah.
With them.
Thank you for that.
Do we, I mean, do we need to pursue locations?
I mean, yeah, that was my big push really, just because I don't want to have the pool closed for a year or two. That's just but ultimately, I don't think there's gonna be enough energy to do it or a realistic option. The idea of having to shut down for a year or two with how many kids are not gonna get educated to swim in a town where we have drownings and where we live on a river just seems insane to me, but at the same time, we all have to sacrifice something. So ultimately, I don't think it's worth chasing, and I think that was my big push, so I'm back off it.
Taking it off the table.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, so building orientation, kind of what I'm hearing is that maximizing use of space, but keeping costs down?
I'd say the only caveat would be maximize use of space for potential expansion, not necessarily building all of that space, but maximizing the space
Yeah.
with the idea that we can expand, which is what Brian said, just to basically add.
Fully agree, and I, take my name off of the first
Okay.
one. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, I think they're compatible. so,
Yeah.
But, yeah,
One thing I'm not sure the architects did was do a real deep dive into what it would take to move the sewer. I know that it would cost some money, but there might be a way that they could snake around this side and come out to May Street or something like that. And I don't know if they actually contacted engineering and such. This next phase. They're going to be getting into more detail, so that's another note that we could make of just like, look into sewer line relocation.
Yeah.
And factor that into the cost, like if it was a cost thing. Cause right now they were trying to build around it, although option 3 went over the top of it, but I don't know if they actually figured out that delta of how much that would cost to move it over on the other side, so we could ask them to do it. A more detailed analysis of that.
I wonder if more of the word that we should use is like smart use of space. Because option 3 was maximizing the space, but that was also to like get more space. And we seem to have very clear consensus, like we want to keep the costs down, which seems to it be incongruent with maximizing space.
Well, I think about, I mean, where you're talking about building orientation, though, that's important for them to know that we wanna be able to expand at a certain point if we can't afford to do it now, and if we're still trying to keep it at a certain budget. So smart use of space, we might not even be using that space yet, it's just about the idea of, look, if this is a perfect spot where we could do a patio at some point or whatever, right? If we leave this, if we build it at an angle and we do it like this is a perfect spot for X or a
We could
splash pad.
step it out for a splash
Right.
pad, or,
Right.
you
I
know.
think we're just looking for the right vernacular.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, so
So-
smart use of space, minimize costs or.
I mean, so maximize,
It's incongruous with the other.
right, I mean, yeah, so you would prefer me to use smart use of space?
Yeah,
Okay.
Still subjective for who's smart.
well,
right?
but it's not,
It's
like,
not,
cause again, option 3 was about
Considering-
like
how
using the
about-
whole footprint, and I don't think that's what we're saying is use the whole footprint.
Right.
We're saying keep the cost down.
Consider
Efficient
use of space,
space.
for,
Sure,
how
efficient-
about,
Yeah,
Right.
that's great too, efficient
Or-
use of space, cost efficient use of space.
well,
Yeah.
consider, I mean, but I think giving, like, this, if we give them the directive of consider use of space to, for anything that could be potentially expanded, whether it's like a flex room or, you know, I mean, and we're gonna get into amenities in a second, you know,
Mhm.
but I mean, like, what,
Efficient, concise use of space for potential future expansion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super optimistic that there's gonna be a future expansion if we're struggling so much to get.
But it helps convey what we're asking for.
It's also,
That's what I'm saying.
and I think it also goes hand in hand with the fundraising that with like immediate, like, so it's the potential expansion that we could do now. With that foundation or with raising for those
Yeah.
certain things, so this
Yeah.
might not be for expansion 5 years from now, this is
Okay,
in congruence with the foundation raising for.
splash pad or
Splash pad.
patio or,
Yep.
okay,
And
great.
it goes
Yeah.
to our expanded.
So that's the
question.
potential expansion I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
at least in the short term.
Yeah, okay. Um. Something my dad said to me on this, he's a local resident as well, is angled buildings tend to be more expensive. So, I mean, they're architects, they know, but I would want to consider like the shape of the building to try to keep costs down too.
so,
I took angled as just box.
Oh, well, but option 3 wasn't that, but sure, if it were box rotated,
Yeah,
then that
I
would
mean,
get both
that
things,
to me,
yeah.
that's the hybrid 2-3.
That could
So-
be,
I
yeah.
would also
I'm
just maybe highlight the lower cost thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bold.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cost, and then, potential expansion options that could be fundraised for immediately. Okay,
We're trying to ask for everything without asking.
I
for
mean,
everything.
I think this gives them, so a couple of things that I heard, sewer line relocation. Is there anything just from this that, what we have up here that you want to give, any more information to give to the architects?
Well, what if we go on to the next section, and we
Yeah.
like come back up to
Yeah.
this section?
Yep, totally. So moving to the next slide, Mark. So these top 3 things on the absolute essentials are the things that have kind of stayed true throughout our entire conversation about what you believe to be the essential items. So 25-yard by 25-meter competition pool, a warm water pool, and then some family gender neutral changing area. What other items do you feel like are essential? that should be included in this.
And then we'll do optional add-ons. Also,
I think, to me, the rolling doors and skylights. I mean, it's getting to that, the people who love this. And to be able to show big rolling doors, skylights. You know, more and better views, when you're swimming.
And I personally, I agree, I love that, but I don't know that that counts as an essential, I just don't, especially with the feedback that I read. I mean, just from what people were saying, like most, you know, they just want the pool to be the pool, and yes, I have absolutely love the. Just so we're clear, I voted and I would vote for 60-70 million, so like I'm for all of it, but it just be, if hearing what the feedback and just trying to represent what I've heard. I personally don't know that that would be an absolute essential, even though for me it would be, but.
I think as hard as it is to ask for and maybe even conceptualize, operationally, space is just necessary. The deck space, the storage space, the space in order to function the way people expect it to function. Every swim meet, water polo match, every swim lesson, like we mention it here about flipping the therapy pool and the competition for ADA and for all of that. But just the word space really matters in a lot of different ways. And so that's an absolute essential, I think, however that plays out.
Where do we feel about essential being the enhanced warm water pool?
Yeah,
Considered an
I
essential
mean,
improvement.
to me, it is partially because the optional add-ons I think of as things that we could fundraise, I think we could fundraise for, and that's not to say that the pool we couldn't, but it feels like, to me, if we are doing this big project, we would be doing a disservice to the community to not make that warm water pool bigger.
Yeah.
I've been here on days where that is so packed.
Yeah.
You can like barely even move. Because everywhere you turn, you are running into someone, and it's like people all the way from a toddler to like someone in their 80s. And it's also like the current one, you don't have enough depth there to, like, if you're like doing like recovery from a surgery to like do like walking, you know, so to me, that's an important, very important.
And does option 2 do that?
Yeah, option 2 does,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cause it is, when you look at the picture, I mean, I guess I'm assuming these are just.
So I think
scale,
it's
but
important we could look at square footage.
yeah, when you look at the square footage, it's quite a bit more.
I mean, I'm just trying to, again,
Mhm.
link this back to what we, you know, option 1, 2, and 3. And option 2 does that.
Yeah, cause if you look at square footage of the original one, the warm water pools is 1550, but that's including the wading pool, which is not, it's only usable by toddlers. So I don't know how much like the warm water pool is on its own, but I don't know, maybe it's 1400 or something like that.
I
Square feet or what, I don't know what that number is, but you're gaining quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope. And that, I'm just, again, trying to cover.
It's also, we don't have to be like, I get where you're trying to put it back to that, but it's, they can do the hybrids where they're just like, okay, let's do this, but we'll prioritize this and make it a little bit bigger or whatever, yeah.
So
Yeah, so I agree with Christie, as far as absolute essentials, I would include the enhanced warm water pool, not just a warm water pool. That's my opinion.
And do we want to say enhanced warm water pool, option 2-ish?
Well, no, I think they'll be able to interpret that. I mean, cause they're gonna redraw the whole thing based on all these other feedback. I mean, they're basically gonna hybrid all three of them.
well, I
essentially,
mean,
aren't they?
so concept 3 is significantly bigger square footage
Mhm.
than concept 2.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I am concerned that we are like, that we don't say, yeah, we want all these things on, that are in concept 3, all of these amenities, but we want to keep it under $39 million.
We're backing into.
Yeah, we just gotta make sure that we've got some compromises in here that are, so that we're not asking for too much,
Oh, man,
unless that's what we want.
my only essential was the roof, so that's my only vote. As far as these ones go, that's, I mean.
Yeah.
I will say.
they are supposed to be getting to us on like roof cost. They have not yet gotten to it.
I will say in terms of swim meets, events, our pool, one of the best things about our pool is the deck space.
Oh,
and going to other swim meets and going to other water polo events. This pool and its ability to host and support numbers is all because of that deck space. And it's not like you don't feel like you're gonna fall in the pool if you walk by someone.
Yeah,
I visited a brand new YMCA in Salem last week. And it had maybe 3 feet of deck space, and it was just. You felt nervous walking by,
Right.
you know.
yeah, I think I'm spoiled because I've visited 3 new pools and the amount of deck space is insane.
Yeah.
I guess I'll bring it up since it's on the list, just to make sure we talk about it as the top one. I mean, are we locked in on it being 25 by 25? I just wanna make sure that we're all, I mean, just that isn't something to consider.
It would be a step back from what we are currently offering in much of our
You
programming.
mean to go smaller?
Yeah, not bigger. Yeah.
50 meter, that's what we're
Yeah,
going?
I just wanna make sure, I mean, that we're all on the same page in that, and that we have a discussion here that maybe it's not worth maybe
mean,
smaller.
From
or
the staff perspective,
Yeah,
I
that's why I'm
think it is
asking.
incredibly important.
Yeah.
I would be actually. I mean, out of anything that I think that would be beneficial is a stretch pool, but, I mean,
What's a stretch
programmatically,
pool?
it's like a 30
Oh.
30 yard. I mean, I think that there's a lot of pools moving to that sort of, trend, but I think for it, a 25 yard by 25 meter pool is an amazing asset to have for a competition pool. And we haven't currently. We use it fully.
Yeah.
It is definitely something that could be programmed if we had a bigger space. So I would say yes, at a minimum from the staff perspective.
I assume it also
That it
leads
is,
to more events being able to be run here and other.
Yes, I mean,
experiences.
this, 25 meter by 25 yard pool gives you a ton of flexibility in being able to host a variety of events, competition events.
And still
Water
have
polo,
public, and still have public use while events.
Yeah.
especially if the pools are flip-flopped,
Yeah.
you know, and ideally if the pools are separated, but we probably don't need to go there. You know, like by a wall, lots of pools have like their rec pool and their
Yeah.
competition pool in 2 different rooms.
so that's preferable?
I mean, well, yes, I mean, because then you can literally like host like water polo tournament. You know, other people are literally not affected by.
Oh,
Temperature stuff too with colder pools it's better to have colder air temperature.
Chloramains won't move around.
Those are much like.
Yeah.
That is a rabbit hole we probably don't even need to
Yeah.
go down,
Yeah.
if we're trying to cut costs. But definitely considerations. I would say a 25 yard by 25 meter is a great pool to have. And going backwards
So of the other 4 things, do any of those need to be bolded? Or they're just a matter of those are, you're just putting our votes on there?
well, I put this bold because I assumed
Yep.
that was the,
That's what I
we're,
asked.
we're keeping it the essential. Are we going enhanced and we're gonna maybe give them the option to say how enhanced it is at this point based on the
Enhanced based on cost?
enhanced based on cost?
Well, do we need to give direction on like, yeah, like what kind of enhancement? Because like, I've been to pools like, okay, 2 examples. One pool that's like that, the warm pool, and there's like a splash pad like built into it.
Mhm.
Personally, to me, even with kids, I didn't get a lot of value out of that. Versus I've been to a warm pool that did have 2 lap lanes. Personally, I did get value out of that. That's just me personally, but like those are 2 different types of enhancements.
Mhm.
So do we need to give that level, like, like direction, like go in this direction versus this direction?
So by enhanced, I think we need to, I was assuming enhanced, I think yes, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was assuming enhanced was volume of water.
Mhm.
So. Enhanced volume is what I'm hearing, is that we want more water space, right? And then what I'm hearing from you is that there is a difference and you're absolutely
Mhm.
correct. is it better to have more space for the biggest bang for the function, right? Or is it better to serve specific users? So
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
so like water features do serve children,
Mhm.
right?
But all.
You know,
But that's the difference between 2 and 3. I mean, option 2 had a bigger pool, but no lazy river. The option 3 had those other bits. of options.
No,
I
it
am
didn't
gonna
really
say
have lazy
that,
river.
what I am gonna say is that I do think it's really important to consider the fun factor, right? So you have to think about what is the option that gives children the fun thing. And some people might say it's just the water, it's just the rectangular pool. But we have things like, the basketball hoop, that could obviously be added. We have like the rope swing that, that we added after this pool is built,
Okay, well, perhaps then we should go to the optional add-ons,
mhm,
and then we can always come back up.
right.
Because for me,
So-
like, those items are in there.
Right, why don't we continue to, are we still, everybody feels good about the gender neutral changing area, right? So we're,
Family, gender, yeah.
yeah, I heard Brian say rolling doors and skylights. Mike say more deck space. Um, are these things that are essential to the rest of you, or?
I mean, we gotta, I don't know, I want them both, but, essentials, I don't know.
Well, but I mean, if we go roof. And we know, we know that so many people were big on, a retractable roof and, this. Um. I was
Wanting
wanting
to
to,
compromise,
I was,
especially in your mind.
yeah, that, exactly.
So if we go back to what Integra said, just a reminder that they said like items that can't be phased are skylights, windows, or large doors. And that they thought that the connection to the outdoors is an important
I mean, I would
factor.
probably also add that
So-
those, even if those are essentials, they're probably not gonna add a lot. Do you think, Marcy? I mean, have you guys haven't seen any? I mean, those probably don't, anyone, you guys talk to the
Yeah.
architects specific, those things probably are not huge costs.
Um,
So if we added those on, we're not, adding 5 million to the bill here, we're adding.
I think, I'm not sure, I'm not sure.
It's one of the lower ones and it is relative on like what kind we do, like,
Yeah.
for like garage doors, I can see like. If it was just glass garage doors and not much to it, if they're architects and if they really want to like do something really nice, you can
Yeah.
go sky's the limit on there, but if we set like specified, like. We think that this is essential, but we want the most, like a very simple version of it. We want, the kind that you would see like at an outdoor brewery with, that where they
Yeah.
roll it up, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I think that that's probably a note that we could put
Yeah.
in there, just to say like,
Well, I certainly hope we're sending the appropriate signals throughout this discussion about cost and how important it is.
right.
We put it in every box.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. So I hope that they can read between the lines and see if we can show them. that
I
we're-
think they're gonna see that as well when we do the preferred price range. too.
Yeah, when they say, oh shit, we gotta do.
Okay,
So I want some sort of balance on this item, the sliding doors, skylights, because I do think we should have them, at least the doors and a little more mix on the skylights. But I also think it's a compelling thing to fundraise for, because some people really care about it. And some people are like, why do I have to pay for the pool? Why do I have to pay for skylights at the pool? So
But to
maybe,
Marcy's point, it's
Uh-huh.
not easy to put in afterwards.
no, I'm not
Right.
saying put it
We
in
fundraise
afterwards, you
it.
fundraise ahead of
Uh-huh.
time.
yeah.
At least like maybe maybe at least the skylights, like that, it seems like the doors, it has broader appeal, like all the kids that like to be able to go in and out, and it's summer swim meets, the skylights feels like.
I'm just
It
wondering
needs
how
to
the
happen.
messaging for that goes, like,
So-
we were asking for a bond, but also I need some fundraising.
Well, I think that's fun
Yeah.
messaging, because,
Yeah.
hey, we're not asking for everything, we want you guys to pay for the minimum. And
Okay.
ask, cause it's for the community and everybody, but there's also passionate pool people who want all this other stuff, and we can try to fundraise for those.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you
So-
know, for the minimum, these people
Yeah.
will help bring it up to that next
Yeah,
level.
that
So-
shows compromise.
Do you want us to get information on the cost for these various items? So like a specifically,
And as much as they can, which I know,
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna say, hey, we can't give you exacts, but at the same time, I think it'd be good to know if adding the skylights or subtracting it is just a difference of 250,000, because ultimately you have to build a roof anyway, so do you have to cut the holes to put in the skylights and then?
Or is it less?
Yeah, I mean, the
You're using less metal.
materials are gonna be more expensive just to get the, get them the size, that size is a whole different, so yeah, I mean.
Like order of magnitude, I mean.
Yeah,
You know.
order of magnitude. I mean, I don't want it to be in versions of it, like, talked about just in Apple symbols. I'd like to have a number,
Yeah. Well,
but at
and,
least a rough ballpark.
and to your point, I mean, we don't wanna back into option three.
Yeah, I
And
don't
so
exactly. I wanna keep
in
adding
asking
things.
these questions, that's our effort, is to not just.
so
Yeah.
you really want to have rolling doors, skylights and windows, but you feel like it's a possible fundraising option. You need more information to see if that's a viable fundraising
Mhm.
option.
Yeah,
Okay.
or if they find that there's a very simple, cost effective way like you have up
Yeah.
there, that we could all just say, yeah, okay, we're fine with adding that much on into the
Mhm.
total amount.
Well, like the scheme of things, it's not a huge
Mhm.
delta and.
Okay, so you can see what I'm putting here is, what about deck space?
Well, I didn't see that as not being, I mean, I absolutely essential, but I saw all three
Yeah.
options doing that.
Have it, yeah.
Efficient
which is
use of storage?
Huh?
I mean, I guess there's certain things that are assumed, and do we need to state those, like,
Right.
so I would assume they're gonna still include office space, like, so. I wasn't thinking.
So,
to
right,
get
so
into
like,
that.
so the assumptions are that it is, right, so basic assumptions, so like, it's like. I'm gonna change this right now to assumptions like office
I
space,
say the assumptions are basically. what fits what.
Yeah.
appropriate storage.
Like, I don't think there's anything in
Um,
this pool that we're wanting to cut, so it's basically what's here.
I mean, so one of the items that, because I had already added in when I sent them the slide. Knowing that we could possibly phase. The upstairs, if you chose 2 stories or whatever, and there was that additional space, that could be an additional flex room. What about a party room? Is that an assumption that you have that the pool comes with a room like this?
I wouldn't call it a party room.
Right?
I'd call it a multi-purpose room.
I mean, I don't
Like
know,
they
I think
did.
even as a party room, I mean, I think it's a source of income and it's a
Yeah.
source of drawing kids to the pool.
Yeah.
It's a reason why tons of people come to this place, is just to have a party here.
Yeah, they had.
So I'd say whatever we have here, I think would be the bare minimum, and I think even the people who were voting for concept 1 or 2, whatever. They just wanted the one, I mean, worst case scenario, we want this thing just rebuilt. Right, so I think we want anything that this place has at the bare minimum,
Okay, yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
okay, et cetera. So basic, yeah, so what we have, right? So you think, okay, is there anything else that should be added?
It's an absolute no.
Based on this information, just on the essentials, do you have a low number and a high number? Can you give me a range?
Before we hash it out, can people,
Essentials, or is this the whole pool?
every,
The pool,
yeah,
the bond.
Uh-huh.
What
Yeah,
would
the
be-
bond.
can people give me their low number and their high number for averaging before we hash it out? And just see where that leads us.
I would like to cap it at 39 to 40.
So 40 is your high, what is your preferred?
Low as possible.
I mean,
Well, my preferred is to pass 60, so I want the biggest thing. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm fine with 40, I mean, that's my
Okay,
preferred.
40 is your- okay,
or
that's the
39,
same.
39,
39,
39 sounds
And
good,
40.
'cause it's in the 30s.
okay.
Yeah,
Tight range.
I'm the same as that, yeah.
I mean, I would be higher. I mean, I just.
Yeah, say it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I mean, I would say 40, what was the low end of option 3? 47?
45.
42.
Option
Oh,
three.
3?
43 was it.
48's your low?
Sure.
And
No,
what-
well, no, I mean, 48's the number.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
48's
where I was
like-
gonna average. them
48's your
out,
high
say.
number?
Just, well, but I mean, that would be the number I think we should put on the bond.
Okay.
Okay, cause 45 is my high and 42 is my low.
I
My
don't care
my
about
preferred.
low, I mean,
I mean, but
Well-
they're asking, what's our
48, 45.
preferred, what is our limit?
So 45, 48, and 39's
Hmm.
or 40. We compromise at 42,
Well, that's why I was like, we could average and also hash it out.
because that's
but I
even
don't-
close to what
So-
concept 2 was anyway, so I mean, I'm sure they could probably hit that mark and get most of these things, I mean, that's close to where they were at for option 2 at least. In
At
the
42?
ballpark.
And this is for the
Ballpark.
essentials, not potential add-ons like
Mhm.
splash pad or patio, things like that.
Mhm. I
That's
mean,
important to consider with
Yeah.
that number.
right,
Yeah, can we drop it down to 40 and then try to fundraise for some of those other
Right.
things to get it back up to 2? Or, I mean, or 4, or 44, you know, who knows what we can fundraise for potentially, if we were adding specific things to add on.
Since we were talking earlier about like enhanced stormwater pool, I was just pulling up like their pictures of this things, like just to give you context on it. Oops, sorry. Like this stuff is expensive. Like if we were saying we wanted enhanced warm water pool, you know, if there are any like the water, the moving water, the swirls or anything like that, those sorts of things will be pricey. So I don't think that it's, I think that if you do the 42 million mark and you say that you do want that, that is probably the part that moved it up in that range of option 2.
I think we're talking more enhanced volume though, if we're just
Mhm.
going back to enhanced volume, then that's not gonna be as crazy, I would assume, right?
It, not as crazy, but it's still,
Yeah.
that's the price per square footage on the price per square foot on that sort of thing is still up there.
Well, and to Christie's point earlier, some of those enhancements allow for people who need more therapy in the deeper water or separating the water temperature for people, because if you try to exercise in warmer water, that can be dangerous. So those enhancements are not just having a box with the same everything.
Yeah.
They can look different though, like Mark just showed.
Going back to the numbers as far as what our heart ceilings are gonna be, just to the bond page that Mark had up
Yeah.
earlier. So basically, if we were at the $39 million range, that keeps us under the $200 a year advertising, you know, to be able to say, hey, look, it's less than $200 a year for every family. So there's that. But then if we go up to 45 million, I mean, we can still say it's less than $20 a month. So, because it's 1910, but either, you know, I was looking, I wrote down the 39, 43, and 45 million at the time.
Messaging.
As all the different messaging potentials for those. I don't really see a benefit to going to 43. I think we either agree to go to 45 or 30 or stay at 39.
Mhm.
39 keeps us underneath $200 a year and the 45 still keeps us, it ups it to 229. Oh yeah, you got it up there. I'm saying what's up there. But anyways,
What,
then you're at
what were the
19.
ranges, just to be clear about option 2 and option 3?
Like they're in their original design?
Yeah, just in the numbers we've seen that were on the postcard. So 42, 49,
Yeah,
and what's
probably.
option 3?
3 was 48.
48, 54. I like 45. I mean, you know, it's less than $20 a month. I think that there's a tremendous amount that we could do with that kind of funding. That doesn't seem, you know, it's worthy of the investment and effort. But again, I'm the $60 million guy. I mean, I'm with you, but let's be hard-nosed and realistic, and 45. You know, is closer to that, so it's less operation funding.
I mean, I'm at that agreement for 45 with the caveat that I want that to include the additional splash pad, which I find the equitability in, and the $1 million cost up front adds so much value. And I would not want to fundraise for that later. Where fundraising for skylights or rolling doors might make sense. I just believe that that is a component at that price point to say, like, you get this with what you're asking for. And that really benefits a different contingent of the community, which in the long term really benefits the entirety of the district. And we saw its value as it was listed out as one of the highest marks for what people mentioned. But I would go 45 with that in mind. even though I know we're just kind of talking about, okay, what are the essentials
Well, but-
plus add-ons?
But we say that now, we say 45 and we say splash pad and then, show me, what do we get?
Right, and that's an exterior splash pad again. I
Yeah.
know we said earlier, like, oh, what are you getting water features inside? But the exterior component is really the equitability, I
Okay.
believe, for the community.
This is probably the cheaper one too, because it's less deck space and building and everything like that, so I imagine that it's probably better.
And from what I hear, the Upper Valley, like that is it's a point that they care about passing through and just having the ability to spend 20 minutes before driving back up or down or all around rather than entering into the facility and feeling as though that they have something that benefits them as well still. So that's why I kind of wrap that around my brain that way. Or 45 would stick for me there.
Okay.
I mean, it's just 6 higher than I was wanting to, but at the same time, I can see why we go to 45. Leland, what do you think, Christie?
I mean, I think 45 if that includes the additional fundraising.
So you mean to drop the bound lower than? you're saying,
Right, so the
drop
bond
more,
the bond would be more like 40,
Try to get
and
that.
additional
So,
fundraising
yeah,
would
I
be
think that
five.
I think we should only be talking about the bond right now.
Yeah.
Let's not confuse
Mhm.
fundraising right now, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that should be a separate conversation.
Yeah. I lean towards trying to stick it closer to 40 personally, but I mean, it's tough. I think the messaging of 200 bucks a year, I mean, is just.
Component, no.
I think the monthly is also a better push. And saw that last go around too. It's the same number total, but it's again, the anchoring.
I mean, my concern is this fundraising mission. I am hugely skeptical. In looking at some of the foundations that we have in the city, in a year, 60K it seems like a big number to raise. To think that we could raise 5 million, 4 million, 1 million.
Yeah.
Oof,
Yeah.
that's
Should be drawn out.
that's
So
just
more realistic to try to go for 45 and fundraise for smaller things.
it's just my view, and if anyone disagrees, peace, I don't know if I see those big numbers.
I mean, 45 is still substantially less than what was being asked, but how much less are we providing? Without the community center and without moving all the other things, like what are we've pared back substantially to what the last bond was requesting. Is the 45 still reasonable now, or is that gonna, or is that feedback still gonna be, that's still too much for just a pool now? So that's why I'm curious.
Mhm.
Well,
I think there is fundraising capacity. I think it is very hard to estimate what that is until it starts.
Sure.
But I also think if we can't raise more than tens of thousands, I don't think we have a chance of the bond passing either. Like, I think those two relate to each other, like. So many people will have to pay for the bond who feel like they don't use the pool.
Yeah.
And so they want people who use the pool
Mhm.
to chip in more.
Mhm.
And I think we really need to put some effort into raising a significant amount.
I mean, could you fall back, I mean, could you just, how much did you guys potentially raise with the Indian Trail before, we had to back off it? Like what you,
Yeah.
with just a few months, you got to how much?
It was 380,000.
I mean, that was for a specific thing, I guess, but it probably granted, but at the same time, I mean. What?
Oh, no, it's just, but that was also harnessing a very motivated, very small group of people
Who were
in
affected
that
directly.
community who were affected.
That's what I was curious, like, how much, yes, is that
And,
mostly the.
and even, we go back to waiving SDCs and all of that, it's, location. And so I don't know how much of that is indicative.
Mhm.
Are there not such motivated people in the pool user community who want to still have a pool in their community?
That would be able to contribute in some kind of meaningful way.
Financially. Yeah.
Financial, I mean, I'm not saying it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's
Mhm.
not gonna be 100K, 200K, 300K. Again, just having looked at, I don't know, the library one, but that one's the most, intimately familiar with, but even if you look at Casa and Gorge Adopt a Dog, you know, different scales, you know, I understand, but them getting the going through their annual process, you know, whatever the auctions, auctions, and or whatever their main event is. Again, it's, you know, it's tens of thousands of dollars.
But those are also for operations. It's not capital giving where someone's like, I want to leave a legacy. I will donate $100,000 to have my name on the splash pad, or, you know, something like, this is a donation that I'm going to do that represents like a 10-year contribution.
Sure, yeah, I mean, those people may be out there, I just,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just a skepticism.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
It's an
a tricky-
unknown.
Yeah, it is totally an unknown, yeah.
For sure.
Mhm. I think that in terms of fundraising, I think that we likely have some large scale potential donors. But how many is,
Yeah.
I think, the unknown.
Yeah.
And how, what that scale is also undetermined.
So at 45 gets us kind of in that 2-3 range.
To meld, yeah, probably meld with the second and third concepts with some compromises here and there. Still,
It just feels like it's
Yeah.
going it's veering away from people saying like,
yeah,
so everything, the top feedback is keep costs down.
yeah.
And I know this is so hard because we really need the architects to tell us, okay, yeah,
Right.
and they are telling us with these, and so it's like a difficult game to play, just to be like, this number, but.
Well, what if we gave them
Lack of
two
info
numbers?
on prices.
We give them.
So
Yeah, yeah.
42 is the lowest end of concept 2.
Mhm.
But if they reapproach the designs with the idea of trying to get it underneath 40, I mean, I assume that's, they can look at it and figure, I mean, they're gonna look at it in a different light, I think, versus just designing it all as is, when they not, if they give them a hard ceiling.
Well, yeah, so if we say two numbers, which is say 40 and 45,
Mhm.
and it's not option 1, 2, and 3 anymore,
Mhm.
because we've given them guidance on what we want to see. And we say, what do we get for 40? What do we get for 45?
Is
Is
that
that-
reasonable to ask of them? Mark?
Well, then
Marcy?
that's having them
Do two plans,
do
right?
2 plans, which is not within our scope.
We can probably ask them for a little bit of advice of just like, okay, we've asked for, like, here's our preferred concept. We got all of these things. Do you think we can get it for under 40 or for around $40 million?
Yeah.
Or is it just impossible at first glance?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if at first glance you say like, this looks impossible, like, okay, then we're gonna have to step up to this. So we can say we're willing to go up to 45 if that's what we have to do, but if
Really
you think that
don't
we
want
can do this down there and
Yeah.
just get their feedback on that.
So 40 million is the preferred, 45 if need be.
Is that fair?
At the same, yeah, but then, I mean, with, honestly, I mean, you're gonna have frank conversations with them, I'm sure, and so look, you know, if you want us to build this facility that we can put your name on and say you guys are attached to, or not name,
Build-
but you're attached to, you designed it, you know, if you build us something that we can do this for 40 million, we could probably do it, whereas 45, it's kind of, we're starting to get
And-
questionable.
They're not the actual architects that will do it. We will go out to bid in the future. And so I think that, you know,
End up coming.
asking them like to say, what can we do
Yeah.
to make it right there? If they can make miracles happen and do the, you know, and be able to make this happen, I think that that's also like where we can say, wow, they're, you know.
That's where I wonder, when we get to the point of actually
Yeah.
designing with all the things we want, and we have an actual budget, that we're not just floating all these concepts and all these ideas, I have a feeling we can get to 40. I just
I mean-
do, I think if we have it all finite
Their
stuff.
concepts included amenities.
Mhm.
So I think that it's important to recognize, like, what you have given as the essentials is pretty bare bones.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna tell you that, and so,
There's no expensive stuff.
I mean, the enhanced volume, I mean. What else, I mean, and possible rolling doors, but we don't have enough information about
Mhm.
that, enhanced volume, but let's go, so I think this is good information. Let's talk about amenities, because it would be good because they might be like, oh my gosh, you guys are so under budget. It's probably not gonna happen, but,
Love the optimism.
but, if they do, are like, you're at 36 million, you get $4 million or, you know, whatever, it's probably not gonna happen. But I mean, like, what would be the most essential, add-ons that you think or that most desired amenities? And I don't know if you need to go back to the list of amenities.
can you show this?
The
nice
combined?
graph?
Yeah, the combined look.
I mean, there was one before it, I think it was maybe the doors. But again, splash pad for me is just, it was up there at the top
Yeah.
and for all the reasons I said with equitability and building a future
Yeah, so it's-
demographic.
Splash pad.
And making the entire county feel more accessible, especially the Upper Valley. I can't stress the value of that enough. And as Mark said, maybe it's $1 million. And it just has to be attached to an actual facility.
So I'm hearing splash pad.
That sounds pretty important. I like the equitability aspect of it for sure.
Okay.
For me, getting into a little the specifics of the enhanced warm water pool, I think a gradual entry
Mm.
area.
I think
Got it.
that is, to me, that's an essential item. There should be some area of the pool that is zero entry. Mhm.
And then similarly, I had already said it basically, but like a deeper section of it, I don't know what that depth is, but that you could like more effectively do like swim lessons or therapy for an adult. And cause I think, I don't know, what does it go to, like 3 feet something?
3.5, 4.5. Three and a
It
half.
goes to 4.5
3.5 to 4.5 feet.
in the therapy pool, okay.
Mhm.
I don't know, it seems like it's not very deep for an adult.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is, I mean. Fine.
That's fine.
I mean, it is not inappropriate. Let's put it that way. It is suitable enough. Would deeper water be more beneficial for the ability to do appropriate swim lessons
Mhm.
in that warm water and not have to compete with with the recreation pool, I mean, with the competition pool for space?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So in that degree, I think like deep water would be a great
Well,
addition.
Not deep water,
Or-
right? Deeper. By deep water, do you mean 7 feet in the warm pool?
I mean, I think the ability to have deep water is an essential part of learning to swim. Personally,
Even in the, Warm
whether debatable,
oh,
but I mean, at some point, it would mean that, yes, you need to move into the competition pool to teach
Well,
swim
yeah,
lessons.
yeah.
You know,
So my struggle with the define, I mean, this, I think
Mhm.
absolutely, because that you can't change it.
Mhm.
To me, the amenity piece quickly delves into, could we fundraise, you know, for some
Yeah.
very finite thing? And add it on later. So to
Mhm.
me, I don't have any amenities that I would like to see. I mean, the splash pad, I think I would almost elevate it. Cause again, I think it's not much and it's, obviously it's the highest rate or, well, second highest rated thing up there.
so I'm gonna put here, if this can be moved to, this can be moved to essential, do it.
So we need to call out those amenities now though, so that we can get price estimates for them. Like, if we think we want, say, a small slide, we need to call that out. so
No,
that-
I gotcha. Cause again, I'm
Gives it the
pessimistic,
fundraising.
I'm being overly
Yeah.
pessimistic and it's, if there is excess budget capacity
Or
within the
funding.
number, it's.
But that's where some of those we saw, they're like, this isn't even an apple. It may be the stem or, that's where they,
I mean,
yeah.
there's. A splash pad is fun, but it is outside of the pool. So again, I would encourage you to think about the fun factor item.
I think if we're adding in amenities that could be not necessarily added, but could be. Included in the budget, I like the increased outdoor deck space. Again, as thinking about not just. bigger ticket items, but adding many small things. If there's, again, budget space within that top line number. The fun factors there, outdoor experience, that lane, like.
What did we hear from kids? You remember?
Well, the ones that showed up, they wanted diving and deep stuff, so that's where like, which is a super expensive.
That's, yeah, so specialized. That's a really tough
A
one,
diving board would be amazing, but that's,
but
it complicates a lot, so that's not a realistic option, I don't
And
think,
it-
with that, what we wanna do.
almost requires special operations to us. One
The
lifeguard
operations
just
lifeguard,
walking,
yeah.
exactly, just on that body of water.
Yeah.
They also mentioned slides.
Yeah, it's,
Slides are
Yeah.
so easy, like rope swings and things like that.
as long as you
But
don't need
to-
a lifeguard.
I was gonna say, the
lifeguard.
extra lifeguard part does, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
But
That
that
would
can
be two
be-
lifeguards per slide, yeah.
back and forth.
And we should lose.
To Brian's point about the space outside, and he probably is well aware, but that's one of the reasons why it feels so good in here for meets and things like that. How much already gets moved outside to clear that space to make it functional. And so if we don't have outside space, not just for splash pad, even the inside space, you're like, oh, there's plenty of inside spaces just like this. That's only contingent upon having some outside space.
I mean, to really just, this square footage you have here, I mean, I feel like, yeah, you design, if this grass wasn't here, which I know the kids, that some people lay out on it, but I mean, that's a lot of potential space that they should be able to. Like, you know, when they reline everything, and I mean, I'm sure they're incorporating all of it. I think the outdoor space is important. I mean, I think having a reasonable outdoor space at a pool that can be transitioned and things moved out to. It's also relatively cheap, I'm sure, too, if you're planning for outdoor space.
And if there is excess capacity within the budget, that would be a quick hit, you know, that would, I think, have a big impact. Cause everything starts looking better, you know, the indoor outdoors connection.
And if that adds to concessions, create something like that for,
Foods and stuff.
yeah, I don't know, for things rather than.
What, and all, you know, when we talk about the slides and stuff, though, I mean, when you're, I mean, do we really need to say we would need those things? I mean, I guess that's my question, is like, when we're talking about 40 million bucks, like, I'd imagine those are pretty small pieces of the pie. And so isn't that just kind of assumed we're gonna try to put in some of those things when we get to the design factor? Like, or no, am I making, is that?
I feel like
a
you're
assumption?
correct, like 10 or 20,000 is gonna be a drop in the bucket for
Right.
a slide when you're talking
Like,
40 million.
Yeah, I assume we're gonna be incorporate, I mean, are we just, do we need to say it on paper that yes, we want fun at the pool? And I'm not being I mean, like, do it, like.
I mean, I
I think the
it's-
more direction we can give them, the better.
Yeah.
Like, these are the three things that we really like in there.
So what, we've heard a lot about outdoor deck space, zero entry, but we haven't heard about like the amenities for the children. So like
Yeah.
what amenity
Yeah,
would be like,
kids love rope swings.
I promised them that we wouldn't be doing a whole bunch of go back and
Right.
forth.
Yeah.
And so what I'd hate for this to happen is like December comes and they're like, here you go, and we're like, oh, where's the slide?
Yeah.
And they're like, you didn't write it
there's
down.
nothing
Okay,
fun
yeah,
for the
yeah.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just working like a sugar, yeah.
I mean, but to that point, though, I mean,
Right.
we wanna be able to maximize the investment in, I guess we need to say it. I don't know, I'm just trying to like if there's excess capacity within the budget threshold that we give them. Don't give me 37,230,000, you know, show me something 40 that has these other things, but then we have to tell, so.
I think the public would be like,
Yeah.
okay, it should be 37.5 then.
So you don't
Yeah.
think the public wants any,
Have fun.
any amenity?
No, I think we should
Stroke.
complete this conversation about what guidance we
Yeah.
should give them about amenities, but I don't think we should be like, and if you come in under budget, add more things.
Right, right. Yeah, focus it.
Yeah.
Right, so
Okay,
like,
fair,
what
fair.
is, so looking, I mean, I would say like looking at this.
Yeah.
We saw enhanced warm water pool is like a big one. Next one, we're looking at like,
I think water play features being pretty high up, you know.
yeah, water play features, slide.
I guess they just need to know we don't want just a competition pool. It needs to be a family oriented type pool as well as a competition pool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think if is that enough of a direction, or do we still need to say like play features?
Rope swing.
We want rope swing. I mean, a slide would be great, but it would also, it means more lifeguards, so is that something you guys on a, you know, what's
Even-
your take on it?
Back to the picture, you know, some of these things are not an actual like things, but we can just say like, with the enhanced warm water pool, we would like to see like.
Yeah.
Some curves, not just a bunch of rectangles.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, I think, if nothing else, if they need this philosophy, in my opinion, is like they need to, I think we don't want the pool to look like a big, like, just a swimming lap pool. We want it to be, this is a very family oriented pool, it's a
Mhm.
family oriented community. So I think if they understand that that's the design that we're looking for, we want it to be able to hit families. But we also want it to be able to have water polo meets, but we also want it to be somewhere where the seniors can come work out. So it needs to be accessible to everybody and not just for like the hardcore swimmers in the community.
So just feedback on the slide, in terms of a slide, we would only be operating the slide during like open
Free swim,
swim.
yeah.
Open swims when we already have additional lifeguards
Yeah,
on
go ahead.
staff
Yeah.
anyways. And so you need an additional lifeguard
Yeah.
when you're operating the rope swing. So I mean, yes, you might need an additional one, but it is like how I mean,
The rotation.
it could be that it's possible that there could be an additional lifeguard needed for that open swim, but it's also possible that you don't need an additional lifeguard because we already plan to have multiple lifeguards during our family open swims.
Well, but there's some size of slide where you need someone at the top.
Yeah.
and not-
What's the medium one on
I
there? Is
don't
that like
want
the Dow?
to and do that.
Yeah.
That's gonna
Okay.
add too much.
So yeah, what's up here? What's the difference between a medium and a small slide? Small slide was like what you guys used to
A
have.
small slide is probably what we used to have.
Yeah, but the Dows would be like a large slide. That's probably.
Probably, yeah.
Beyond-
If it has like a staircase and a platform,
Like
I think they
this thing,
consider it
yeah.
a large slide, yeah. If it's just like you walk up a ladder, but I don't know the exact, we'd probably have to look at the new regs, cause the new regs just came out that define the rules on lifeguards for them. Yeah, I was just talking with the people in Madras and they have a bigger slide that does have a staircase and the thing, and when the new regs came out, it added lifeguards to what they had to do. And like I mentioned before, they're only open 25 hours a week right now total,
Yeah.
and they said that basically their slide is maybe a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
Which just seems sad that you put so much money into this thing that's open 2 hours a week.
And that's what would happen with a diving well, is you would have, oh, one person wants to use it right now, and then they'd be frustrated when it took forever to find a guard to be able to cover that down, and then they'd leave, and you'd be like, no, you can't be in there right now, somebody will get to you in 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, I think that's more if it's a separate pool too. I mean, like if you're covering an area.
Well, if you're talking about taking the whole competition pool down 13 feet, that's a whole nother conversation on cost.
Oh, for sure, that's
Yeah, like,
the amount of water you have to heat and treat now.
oh my God.
So do we want to include rope swing small slide?
That's my opinion.
It's just.
Will that be already there, assuming, well, but assuming, because we already have it,
No.
we're assuming what we have. Correct.
Good point.
Well,
Well, no,
you keep the rope swing on there for sure though, just.
it's like we're not telling them to do a wading pool.
A little.
Yeah, but most things here, I guess.
Yeah.
Slide, so I'm just gonna put slide, need more info for operations. I think, okay,
I think just maybe just let them know that we like some playful aspect for
Mhm.
sure. We're not just wanting competition box.
um. Okay, so zero entry seems like, should this go to? Should zero entry go to essential?
I think that's reasonable to say.
I guess so, it doesn't, well, we don't know, but I would not think it would really add costs, but I don't know.
I mean, I think I personally think it's an essential item, but,
I think for the 18 people who can roll, roll into it, or little ones who can walk into it, then
Mhm.
it just seems like it's really beneficial.
Okay, no wrong answers, but there are wrong answers. Crazy just last second, because it didn't look like this anywhere, but. Guard room, dead center, 360 visibility. I mean, even just something small.
Are you saying you want that?
Yeah, like, would that have any ability during the build out when we're maximizing space to have, Mark's like, God, no.
I don't even think it's a good idea, 360. I mean, you've always got your back to somewhere. I mean, I think the guard room in a very good spot, like I've seen like guard rooms elevated on a corner or something like that, that can see the entire facility, but I think that
They still wouldn't be your active guards, of course.
of course, yeah, but you want to have situational awareness of what's happening out there. I don't think I've ever seen a facility with a guard room like something in the center area before. It's usually, they're usually very well located,
Yeah,
but, and I do like the idea of like ones, like just having the guard room is a focal point that's
Mhm.
quick for people to run over and ask for a Band-Aid, quick for people to say like, hey, what's going
Yeah.
on, things like that, but like I've never seen one, like a satellite guard room in the middle or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A concern or maybe just wondering I have about the like enhancements is the trade-off between like adding enhancements that are fun, but then like limit the usability of it, like, or it's like its ability to be multi-purpose.
Right, so
So-
like, that's why a rectangular recreation pool is not useful if you have amenities in the same pool.
Yes.
And so like why like curves can help with that programming. So yes, I agree, but the curves help. In like, in that, programmability.
Like being able to say like, we've got swim lessons over here, but there's a water walking thing over here, something like that. Because when we
Mhm.
put everybody in the same rectangle over there and you try and say like during the summer, the senior water aerobics people are very vocal about not wanting kids in that pool while they are working out.
Mhm.
They don't want
Here, if you had it situated right, they could coexist.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you're almost saying like, it's not a trade-off, it's actually like a win-win sort of.
If you
like,
design it correctly.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that, and being really thoughtful in how you, I mean, like, I do feel like that middle pool that Mark's highlighting over, it's a really good example of how you can use space to do, to do, like, where those kids are in the front, could be for toddler swim lessons, you could have your water aerobics going on at the same time, I mean, there's just so many different ways you can program an area like that versus a rectangular pool.
Okay.
So yes, I would say that it is like a win to like, I
Yeah.
think it's possible to have amenities like this that have been listed with a thoughtful design configuration.
I think that's a really important point and not intuitive. Like I would not have guessed that like a pool with curves could actually be more, and almost in a way like more cost effective, like a better business choice.
It's
And
a
so-
better business choice.
So I think that we need
Yeah, I agree.
noted,
I
and
agree.
that's something we'll have to help communicate. I mean, assuming that is how it ends.
More usable space.
Yeah.
It's like almost you get more usable space in that versus, because I'm with Christy, my instinct and gut just said, yeah, just build a big rectangle, you guys can do whatever you want with it. But ultimately, you're gonna probably get more actual use out of something like that has programming in different quadrants or different sections.
I think it's more attractive too,
Yeah.
for people to want to come to for your general admission people and such, which we do make a lot of money on the general admission.
Yeah.
We make more money on general admission, I think, than, like, that's where we can move the needle a lot more than like lap swimmers and things like that. They're coming no matter what. This is one where I think we can attract a lot more people if we have a pool that looks like something they really want to go to.
So if we splurge in any one area, then that would be the area. So, I mean, because for all the reasons.
That's a
that
good
we're saying.
comment.
Yeah, so, and am I putting?
Yeah, but keep it cheap.
Use the word splurge.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
lowercase. Yeah, that's not.
Definitely.
How,
Where?
Trying.
you can take it too far where you can get blowback for
Right,
it.
Yeah.
Um, uh, um, I don't wanna use the word.
No.
Yeah,
But
If that's what we can improve our existing space,
Mhm.
that would be the
Yeah,
area.
that's a priority.
Yeah.
okay,
Right, it's probably the most bang for your buck, that'll make so many people in this community
Mhm.
happy.
Mhm.
okay.
So what do we have in
Okay.
that list?
So right now, you have whichever for building orientation, which is ever is the lower cost, consider use of space
See it?
for,
Sorry.
for potential expansion that could be fundraised immediately. Pool configuration, flipped, so therapy pool near to the entrance. Everybody agreed on permanent roof enclosure, number of floors doesn't matter as much, it's whichever is the cheapest. We wanna look into the sewer line, relocation. Essentials, current competition pool size that we have, enhanced volume of a warm water pool with, and I'm gonna move this to the therapy pool area, so zero entry, oh, and in the recreation. Warm water is an essential feature, family, gender neutral changing areas. You would like rolling door skylights and windows. We really want to be thoughtful about costs,
The cheap version.
the cheapest, and then we're assuming all of
Right,
like
version.
the basics of what we currently have, which is like multi-purpose room, locker rooms, office space, lobby, you know, just roof, yeah, but,
Walls.
and then your preferred price is 40 million, not to exceed 45, and we really need to kind of understand the nuts and bolts of what,
Trade-offs.
yeah. And then we're gonna get more information on that, rolling doors, skylights and windows as a possible fundraising.
Why is it in red? Is that why? Because of.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, we need more information, like it didn't,
Some questions around it.
there seemed to be questions about whether it's essential
Yeah.
or, the most desired want to have.
Mhm.
And so like if that's like I mean, it could be the delta, right? Or, you know, it's hard, we don't really know how much that's
Mhm.
gonna
Yeah, that's
be.
the question is.
Is that how much does, yeah, what are we looking at, right? High priority add-ons. If we're like somehow in the 37 or, you know, under 40, we'd like to add in the splash pad. Increased outdoor deck space. In, I guess in the therapy pool, I mean, there needs to be, perhaps this bold should be moved to the essential, there needs to be a playful aspect in the therapy pool. So I am gonna move that here. And then, for that final, upgraded, so some play features, a deeper section in the therapy pool. Upgraded rope swing, a slide, probably, this should probably be in red too. Just like we need more information,
Which one?
the slide,
Oh, yeah.
um.
Do we need to call out the last point we were talking about of like creatively designed, warm pool versus just rectangle?
Yeah, so I put in, Mark, can you move to the slide above? So I put in that slide, design and programming are important.
Design and.
So under
Oh,
warm
the
water,
next line up.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, so
okay.
under warm, so we design and programming, design with programming in mind, really is
Oh,
like
okay.
with programming, with maximizing programming.
Mhm.
Zero entry into the, I should keep all my warm water. Keep all my
And so we have the playful part in both essentials and nice to have. Is that because it's like we want one playful thing?
yeah, I mean, and
Essentials
I
and then
think,
a few more
right,
possible, so
yeah, it's essential to have like,
something.
something, right? Uh, and I think, yeah, I mean, I think this gives them, it, you know, these are all concepts at this point. I don't think we need to get like,
Mhm.
you know, too crazy with it. I think that this gives them,
Is therapy pool and warm water pool are those?
that's is, yeah, so I should, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I should, yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, I should just, all of this should just go here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There anything else?
one other thing I wanted to show you all, that, make this a little bit smaller, from the statistically valid survey that we did with FM3 back when we were testing this stuff before. This,
Let's put that in.
was that?
Let's put this, I forgot.
Well, I did. So, more than 3 or 5, but anyways, we tested it up to 250,000, and this is where we made our mistake last time, was our top end was we asked 250, and then our top end ended up being 368. So we went way above what we had tested, but anyways, just looking at this right now that, and I know this is old data, and this was before we got a little bit of a stink on us from all this other stuff, and it was, when the question was, how do you like the things that we've been talking about, and this included West Side Park and some trails and other things too. So it's not exactly, it's definitely not like an apples to apples comparison, but it does show kind of like the willingness of how much people are willing to pay there. So just thought I'd throw that out there just so,
So it goes back to the 20 per month we were talking about earlier, at 45 million,
yeah,
that we have to go to there.
so just something.
There's some appetite within.
That's only bond.
Mhm.
Yeah, true. That is the total price, and so we have to factor in the operation levy part too.
I don't know if we're going with you,
We're
yeah,
not.
for the messaging next time.
Yeah, what would the bond go down to if we went from that, to try to hit that $20 a month mark, at both things? So we don't need to do
Yeah,
that right
factor it
now.
out, but that's something we can do for the next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I should have, when I did that, the levy, I should have had the dollar amounts,
maybe that's the target we go for. Maybe we just figure out whatever, we do a bond and a levy, and just we figure out whatever's gonna get us at $20 a month. And say, this is our pitch. We're asking everyone in the community who's willing to vote to pay $20, homeowners, whatever, and $20 a month is gonna get us, that gets you guys this. And that's where that's our ceiling for what both the combination of the bond and the levy.
It
Is that
wasn't, didn't
feasible?
we have to get it down to 39 to get to $20 a month?
No, 39 was actually $16.50 a month.
Oh.
So 45 million is 19.10 a month. So you actually could probably get up to 46 even. Okay, there you go.
Well, but
But I'm just
you
saying,
can't get it, yeah, because of the levy.
yeah,
or
but if you
whatever
include
other
the
measure
levy,
you have.
that's probably, yeah. But again, it's,
Valid.
we don't need to go, but I think that would be a reasonable target to consider.
It doesn't bring it down.
It does bring it down a little. She's asking about a 30-year bond. It is possible. Everyone I've talked to, that I don't think anyone ever does the 30-year bonds, but I did test the 30-year bonds, and because of the extra interest you're paying, everything, it brings it down a couple cents, a little bit, but it's not, doesn't say that
But
much.
using those numbers though, if we do the $20, that means if we had a 42-cent operating levy, that gets us down to 31 or 41 cents for a bond. There's not a lot of
Yeah,
budget space,
yeah.
and that's not even on the chart. So that would be,
That might be a non-starter.
I mean, I get where you're going.
Quick math.
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
I think part of that will come with selling what comes with it, which is where there's gonna be that cross.
All right, we have enough for the architects now. We don't need to do a vote on this, right? We
No, I
just,
think
okay,
just
that was
the
it.
direction.
That was great, thank you.
This 90 minutes was a lie. On the agenda.
It was a smaller number before and then I put it.
No, I thought I put 120 and you said yes, and you were just like, oh my gosh, that looks like a lot. And so I dropped it to 90.
Oh, so it's me.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
120 was optimistic, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, we did talk about operations more than I expected to, I will say that, so the 90, that was for. Whatever.
I just want dinner.
We're gonna have to operate this place eventually. So I was at city council last night till 9:30, so.
You have 2 meetings.
Yeah, urban renewal and city council, actually, yeah. All right. Moving on, finance report. Okay, we can go through the finance report fairly quickly. We are, through the first quarter here. Our first quarter.
Are chems and gases due to the covers being off longer than normal? It's just slightly higher than I probably would have expected, or maybe some other.
It's actually, no, cause usually, that would be,
It's not the heat as
yeah,
well.
right, that would be another, I would have to go back and take a look and see what, large bills came in on that.
We're a quarter of the way through and we've expended 18% of our budget.
Yep,
Boom,
doing good.
nice.
And so, in about 2 months, we'll see a big boost in the revenue when our, the tax bills start coming in. But right now, yeah, doing all right there. Let's see, recreation fund, is going along okay. That's a total expenditure of around 20% there. And on the revenue, we really look at the recreation programs right there, because the beginning fund balance doesn't really matter as much. So the 18%, so we're bringing in just a little bit under what we're spending there. And the system development charges, again, this time of the year, they don't really come in that much. We will see some big expenditures go out on this as we pay for Parkdale Park. In the next month or two. Depending on when that goes in, so we'll, but that is all budgeted. And then no movement on the improvement
I
fund.
have a question about this one.
Yes,
So if a bond does pass
Mhm.
and we know we're getting a new facility. Could some of that be used for the new facility, because we wouldn't need to maybe have as much saved up if you have a new facility?
I would, technically, yes.
Mhm.
I would not, I would not advise that we actually budget to use any of this. I think that this would be something that we would hold back, so like, as we are going through bidding and all of that stuff, if we get into a point where, after we've already, gotten to a spot where bids are coming in too high, or we're having a value engineer or something, and we're just trying to figure out like, how can we not have to cut this thing? We
Mhm.
strategically look into maybe using this sort of thing. I think that if we went ahead and said, you know what, we're actually going to factor in $800,000 from our improvement fund to go toward the project or something like that, it's taking away a big, I would consider this more of a contingency of just in case. We also, I will say, I have seen facility after facility, and this is not to scare anyone, but just things happen, but facility after facility that are brand new, that there was some sort of an engineering mistake or something, and they have to make a fix within the first couple of years of building it. It happened in the Dalles.
Happened in Bend,
Matrix School, yeah, yeah.
and the Bend Aquatic facility that they had there, they didn't get the negative pressure right.
Mhm.
And that was one of the issues, that and a leak for a year that they had. And then their water rate the next year, even though they patched the leak, was still at this like astronomical rate that they had to pay because of how they do water usage.
Sometimes you can go after the contractor and things like that, but it takes years to settle that stuff, and in the meantime, we'll need money to get the thing up and running, so, I wouldn't budget to spend any of it. I would try and hang on to it. I think that we can be strategic about it, and if there is a certain point where we need to dip into it to make sure that we are getting something like major that we would have had to cut, I would say, let's go ahead and go for it there and then take the risk and rely on loans if we have to, with something else, but otherwise I wouldn't touch it.
Which I guess adds another question, which is how, is that the number we wanna be at there, and how do we get to that number?
I mean, there are a lot of different strategies on exactly where you want to be with having contingencies or that sort of thing. Some people say, 10% of your operating budget, some people say higher, depends also, like, we keep ours, I think, a little bit high, well, I shouldn't say we do keep it. We got a huge bump in this after COVID, where we put a lot of money into this fund used to be closer to $300,000, and we decided to keep it up here. We also have some money, that we, have in another area within the general fund. But, I think it's a philosophical question, but it's also situational, like, we like to have ours higher just because we've got a boiler that we're expecting to go out any day. And so we'd like to have the money in there to fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There's, of course, this is general fund money. The improvement fund, is just a fund in name. We took general fund money and moved it into this fund. It's called the improvement fund, but it was never officially designated by the board, as like a special fund that can't be touched for anything else. So it's not like a utility fund or anything like that. There's no color of money associated with this. It's not like the SDC fund or something where it can only be used to expand the parks system. This one, if the board chose to, they could move money out of the improvement fund into the general fund, put a budget adjustment in with the state, and then use it for
Right.
operations if we wanted to.
I feel like Monica said that during the audit last year, there was just a timing issue with it, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. We skipped the director's report tonight to make sure that Jace could get home and get some food.
Thank you.
And also, so I didn't have to write it. So we just have the good of the order.
Thanks for putting all this together. I know you obviously worked so hard on this. And I hope we're adding value.
Absolutely.
You're trying to
Great
do.
conversation.
This is good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Alright.
tired now.
I know, man. Got a good dinner waiting for me, I know that, very excited. But yeah,
Do
thank
we
you.
need, do we need
Thanks,
an
you bet.
executive session?
We do not.
Oh, good.
No,
Oh, darn
Oh.
trust me,
Yeah.
I never want to have executive session.
I hear you, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I
we need a
motion
motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
The second.
On favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
9 o'clock on the
Sticking out the whole 3 hours, jeez.